Chapter 1. The blue sky was like a gigantic piece of blue jade. The summer sun was like a huge fireball that hung high in the sky. Looking at the sun's position, it was probably around 3 p.m. Xian Region's third high school. Ding ding ding, as the bell rang across the entire school was in an uproar. Large amounts of students rushed out of each building and formed groups of 3 to 5 as they walked towards the school gate. Senior Luo Feng. Senior Luo Feng. A rough voice rang. Feng, someone's calling you. In the middle of the crowd of students, there was a youth holding a book. He was wearing a normal blue tracksuit and was around 1.75 meters tall. He seemed quite skinny. He turned his head in confusion. The one who called him was a boy. He was around 1.9 meters tall, had a stocky build, and his arms were shockingly thick. You are. Luo Feng looked at the person in confusion. He didn't seem to recognize the person in front of him. Of these two people, one was as sturdy as a black bear, and Senior Luo Feng was like a normal person. In terms of height, the difference between these two was huge. However, this stocky boy was a bit reserved. He carefully looked at the Senior Luo Feng that he worshipped and thought to himself, looks like the rumors were right. Senior Luo Feng is quite easy to talk to. Senior Luo Feng, I have something that I need your help with, the sturdy boy said nervously. What is it? Luo Feng smiled and said, when I practice, I always feel that something is wrong when I punch. I wonder if you have the time to give me some pointers, the sturdy boy said. The sturdy boy hastily said, according to what the dojo teacher said, with my strength, I should be able to punch with 50% more power. However, when I punch, I can't reach that level. The sturdy boy looked at Luo Feng expectantly. Oh, so it's like this. Luo Feng slightly paused and nodded. How about this Sunday afternoon? Come find me at the dojo. Thank you, senior. Thank you, senior. The sturdy boy thanked Luo Feng. Luo Feng smiled and left with his classmate. As he watched Luo Feng leave, the sturdy boy let out a look of excitement. He fiercely clenched his fist, and the veins on his arm popped out. He excitedly roared, Success! Senior Luo Feng, you agreed so easily? A boy wearing a school uniform said in shock. The rumors were indeed true. Senior Luo Feng is very easy to talk to, and he's a very nice person, the sturdy guy grinned. But that's not right. Among the 5,000 students in our number 3 high school, there are only a total of 3 people who have obtained the title of Dojo Advanced Student. Out of the 3 elite students, the other 2, Zhang Haobai and Lu Ting, are very prideful and won't waste any time teaching us, said the boy in the uniform. Senior Luo Feng's temper is this good? Nowadays, almost every high school student in every country and region in the world would join a martial arts club in addition to receiving cultural education to develop their potential. Xian District No. 3 Senior High School had a total of nearly 5,000 high school students in 3 grade. Most of them were beginner students of the dojo. Only a small number of them were intermediate students. There were only a total of 3 people who could obtain the qualification of advanced student. What you hear is false, but what you see is true. Hee, did you see? Senior Luo Feng isn't the same as the other 2, said the sturdy guy. That Zhang Haobai and Lu Ting both come from wealthy families. Their families spent a large amount of money to train them to become this strong. As for Senior Luo Feng, he's different. The boy in the uniform also nodded. I heard that Senior Luo Feng is the same as us. His family's financial situation is average and he lives in a cheap rental house. Yeah, Senior Luo Feng was able to get to where he is today because of his hard work. He relied on his own punches and kicks to get to where he is today. Unlike Zhang Haobai and Lu Ting, the sturdy boy clenched his fist and took a deep breath. My goal is Senior Luo Feng. I have to pass the dojo's exam within 4 years, which is before I graduate from university, and become the dojo's elite student title. At this time, the senior Luo Feng they were talking about was following the flow of students towards the entrance of the number 3 high school with a guy in a sports uniform. Feng hee when that big guy who asked you to teach him how to punch. He even complimented you with his classmates. The guy in the sports uniform couldn't help but to laugh. He complimented you for being a good person and for being easy to talk to. Luo Feng laughed. What, Wei Wen, are you jealous? Jealous of you? Wei Wen rubbed his nose and laughed. In your dreams. I'm just sighing, that big guy doesn't know the true face of the Luo Feng he respects. I remember clearly. That time in the dojo's arena, the Luo Feng he respects challenged 3 people in a row and beat them until they couldn't even stand up. Luo Feng laughed. That battle was indeed the battle that made him famous. Luo Feng patted Wei Wen's shoulder and laughed. Let's go home. Wei Wen's shoulder shook exaggeratedly and yelled. Feng, be gentle. That slap of yours almost shattered my shoulder. Pretending again. Luo Feng curled his lips. Wei Wen was his best friend who had grown up with him in diapers. Even though they weren't blood brothers, their relationship was similar. Elementary school, middle school, high school. Along the way, the two were indeed very close. Wei Wen suddenly stared forward. Feng, look, it's the one you have a crush on. HM? Luo Feng also looked over and saw that in the crowd of students at the school gate, there was a ponytail girl wearing jeans and a light white polo shirt walking along the road. Luo Feng's heart slightly sped up. A name flashed across his mind. Su Xian. Very few people knew that he had a crush on Su Xian. However, his good friend Wei Wen naturally knew about it a long time ago. When he was in the first year of high school, he and Su Xian were assigned to the same class. The first time he saw Su Xian, his eyes lit up. Thus, during class, he sat at the back. He didn't know why, but he couldn't help but look at Su Xian's back. He just looked at her silently. As long as he could see Su Xian's back, he would be satisfied. Because of the second year of high school, he and Su Xian weren't in the same class. However, every time he saw Su Xian, he couldn't help but to stare at her. There's only 1 month left until college entrance exams, Luo Feng thought to himself. In the past, I didn't have the courage nor the time to chase girls. Now that it's the last month, everyone is busy studying for the exam. Su Xian is also a very strong girl. How can I be distracted by dating? And I can't be distracted in the last month before college entrance exams, or else I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Whatever, this crush. I'll just keep it as a memory crush. It's very bitter. It hasn't bloomed yet, but it's already withered. Luo Feng just wanted to keep it all in his heart. I told you to chase Su Xian, but you didn't. There's only 1 month left until college entrance exams. Wei Wen shook his head. I'm afraid I won't be able to see Su Xian again. It'll be too late for you to regret, Wei Wen. Luo Feng shook his head. Don't say any more. Without the title of fighter, I won't be distracted by dating. Brother, you sure are ruthless. Wei Wen gave a thumbs up. Fighter title? In our entire high school of 5,000 people, not a single one has the title of fighter. And you dare to say that without the title of fighter, you won't be distracted by dating. Awesome, you're awesome. HM? Luo Feng suddenly glanced at the 5 people at the school gate. Zhang Haobai. The 5 eye-catching people in the crowd of students at the school gate were led by a youth that was 1.8 meters tall. He wore a white t-shirt and white pants, and his chest muscles were very obvious. The 4 people around him either had bulky bodies or had knife scars on their faces. One look and you could tell that they were very fierce people. And the youth in the white shirt and pants was one of the 3 elite members of Xi'an Region's 3rd high school, Zhang Haobai. Zhang Haobai glanced at Luo Feng and couldn't help but to let out a low. In the entire high school, if one were to ask who Zhang Haobai hated the most, it would obviously be this Luo Feng. After all, one of the 3 people who received the title of Dojo Elite was a girl. Among the boys, only the 2 of them were elite members. and Zhang Haobai came from a rich family, while Luo Feng came from a normal family and lived in a cheap rental house. In terms of grades, Luo Feng beat Zhang Haobai. In terms of strength, Luo Feng and Zhang Haobai both received the title of elite, and Luo Feng even fought 3 elite members in a row in the dojo. He beat those 3 until they couldn't get up. One of them was Zhang Haobai. That time, he was beaten until he lost a tooth. And in terms of family conditions, Zhang Haobai's family was obviously rich. His family conditions were good, but his grades and strength were both suppressed by Luo Feng. In school, when people praise Zhang Haobai, they often compare him to Luo Feng. Resentment. Zhang Haobai's resentment towards Luo Feng was too great. "Let's go," Zhang Haobai licked his teeth, which seemed to be aching. That time, he was beaten until his mouth was full of blood and he lost a tooth. This Zhang Haobai, ever since he got beaten up in the dojo, he's much more well-behaved. He won't bother you anymore. Wei Wen watched as Zhang Haobai and the others left and couldn't help but to laugh as he said to Luo Feng, "Zhang Haobai." Luo Feng didn't care about this rich kid at all. "It's better to avoid trouble," said Luo Feng as he returned home with Wei Wen. On the way home, beep beep, on the street the sound of car horns rang. Nowadays, cars use electricity, so at least the smell of gasoline can't be smelled on the street anymore. "Wei Wen, there's only 1 month left until the high school exams. In this month, we have to seriously work hard." Luo Feng and Wei Wen walked on the sidewalk. "We can relax a bit for the dojo. Just do some recovery training every day and focus on studying. The high school exams are very important, and we've been studying for 12 years. It all depends on this, 12 years of studying, this exam will decide everything," sighed Wei Wen. "The high school exams, oh the high school exams, it's like thousands of soldiers and horses crossing a single log bridge." The Luo Feng nodded. His family's financial situation isn't that great. Even though he has the title of elite student of the dojo, which means that no matter how bad his grades are, he can still get a job as an elite bodyguard. An annual salary of 200,000 to 300,000 won't be a problem. However, how could Luo Feng be satisfied with just being a bodyguard? At this time, Xi'an region was around 1,000 meters in the air. A gigantic black-crowned golden eagle was flying above the city. Its body was around 20 meters long, just like a large fighter jet. The feathers on its body faintly glowed with a cold, metallic luster. The feathers on its head were dark black, just like a black crown. Its huge, sharp claws were also golden in color. A pair of sharp and cold eyes glowing with blue light looked down at the human city below, and there was a hint of killing intent in them. Boom! The black-crowned golden eagle, which was already flying very fast, suddenly increased its speed. It instantly broke through the sound barrier and reached a terrifying speed. At the same time, an extremely loud eagle cry exploded from the black-crowned golden eagle's mouth. The horrifying sound wave created a shockwave that could be seen by the naked eye as it quickly spread downward. Xi'an regions by Tian Road intersection, Luo Feng and Wei Wen were waiting for the traffic light. Suddenly, an ear-piercing bird cry suddenly rang. This sound was different from the sound of thunder. The sound of thunder was loud and ear-splitting. However, this high-pitched bird cry was ear-piercing. Luo Feng felt his eardrums hurt and couldn't help but to frown in discomfort. Quite a few people on the road covered their ears. "It's the cry of a bird." Luo Feng couldn't help but to raise his head and look at the sky. Luo Feng was shocked. Under the reverberation of the high-pitched and ear-piercing chirp, the huge glass on a skyscraper on the street next to them emitted a low caw-caw sound. Many of the glass pieces cracked open, and more than 10 pieces of glass even fell from the sky on the spot. Some of the glass pieces smashed on the sidewalk, some hit people, and some hit the street lamps by the roadside. Pa! Pung! Pai pa! In an instant there was a series of explosions. One of the glass pieces smashed onto the streetlight next to Luo Feng. It shattered on the spot and shot in all directions, causing quite a few people on the street to dodge. Wah! Wei Wen explosively took 2 steps back and dodged the broken glass. One of the glass pieces shot towards Luo Feng like a blade. Luo Feng's gaze swept across. He didn't dodge. Instead, he calmly stood in place. His right hand shot out like lightning and instantly grabbed the glass piece that shot towards him. This glass piece faintly reflected Luo Feng's face. After weighing it a bit, he casually threw it. The glass piece was like a hidden weapon as it shot towards the trash can in the distance. With a quang dang, it accurately entered the trash can. On the road, the affected traffic quickly returned to normal. The pedestrians on the sidewalk were all discussing. Some unlucky people were injured, but most of them weren't injured at all. So powerful Luo Feng couldn't help but to raise his head and look at the sky. A bird cry in the sky is actually this powerful. It's probably an extremely powerful flying monster. Wei Wen, aren't you very familiar with all kinds of monsters? Do you know what kind of monster this is? Wei Wen squinted his eyes, which were filled with excitement. Feng, our city has a defense system 500 meters above ground. This flying monster is definitely 500 meters above ground. With such a long distance, the sound it makes is still so powerful. Besides, normal monsters don't dare to make a ruckus above a human city. Wei Wen said solemnly, "It's so powerful, so arrogant, and based on its voice, if my guess is correct, it should be the extremely terrifying black-crowned golden eagle among the flying monsters." Black-crowned golden eagle? Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Of course he had heard of the famous black-crowned golden eagle. Black-crowned golden eagle is ranked 3rd among eagle-type monsters. Wei Wen's eyes lit up as he said in a low voice, "An adult black-crowned golden eagle is 21 meters long with a wingspan of 36 meters. It can reach Mach 3.9 in flight. That was 3.9 times the speed of sound. If the speed of sound is calculated at 340 meters per second, it is 1,326 meters per second, which is 4,774 kilometers per hour." Luo Feng knew how powerful the black-crowned golden eagle was, but when he heard the speed of 1,326 meters per second, he couldn't help but hold his breath. 1 second was just the blink of an eye. It was 1,000 meters away. The feathers of this black-crowned golden eagle are even harder than diamond. They should be as hard as grade 3 Kaluo alloy. Wei Wen said excitedly, "There's a video on the internet." Wei Wen said excitedly, "There's a video online. The black-crowned golden eagle once attacked an army with a monster horde, and it was bombarded by a 20mm Vulcan cannon. The Vulcan cannon can fire 7,000 bullets per minute. 7,000 bullets. That's metal bullets. And each bullet can penetrate a 50mm thick steel plate. However, the Vulcan cannon's crazy bombardment didn't even leave a single feather on the body of the black-crowned golden eagle. After that, a mysterious fighter wielding a Kaluo alloy battle blade turned into a stream of light and cut the black-crowned golden eagle in half." Wei Wen's blood was boiling as he spoke. Luo Feng's heart rate also sped up and his blood vessels expanded. That video was widely spread on the internet, so he saw it too. Fighter title: I will definitely get the title of fighter. One day. I want to be like that senior, able to wield a battle blade and slash monsters like the black-crowned golden eagle and the demonic ape, Luo Feng thought to himself. Every young person has a dream, and Luo Feng has this dream. Even though it was said on the internet that the mysterious martial artist, who split the black-crowned golden eagle in half, was one of the top 100 martial artists in the entire world. Feng, what are you thinking about? We're home up ahead. Wei Wen couldn't help but to yell. Only now did Luo Feng recover from his surging thoughts. He raised his head and looked towards the small sector that was made up of large amounts of apartments. South Coast Sector, a small sector built by the government. Luo Feng's home was in this sector, the place he lived for 18 years. Chapter 2. As a low-cost housing sector, the efficiency of land use in the southern shore sector is close to the limit. Every residential building is like a gigantic concrete pillar. The distance between the buildings isn't even considered for sunlight. Luo Feng's home is on the 32nd floor of a 36-story building. Feng, are you going to the dojo tonight? Wei Wen walked towards another building. I'm going to tutor tonight. After that, I'll go to the dojo. It's hard to say when, so don't wait for me tonight. Luo Feng smiled as he waved his hand. After that, he stepped on the stairs and sprinted upstairs. Luo Feng took 4 steps with each step. He was like an agile leopard. In the blink of an eye, he reached the 2nd floor. 3rd floor, 4th floor. Ta, ta. Luo Feng, who was sprinting, was extremely agile. He would occasionally avoid other residents who were climbing the stairs. Feng, school's over? Yeah, Uncle Wang. Luo Feng's breathing wasn't messed up at all. As an elite member of the dojo, this speed isn't much different from taking a stroll. According to the majority of the residents, elevators weren't built in the low-cost housing sector. Because once an elevator is built, the residents will have to pay more rent. Secondly, for the vast majority of people nowadays, even climbing dozens of flights of stairs was a very easy thing to do. For them, building an elevator in a residential building was a luxury. Electricity is expensive, since the entire city's defense system relies on electricity. The entire country desperately needs electricity. 32nd floor. On the 32nd floor, there were a total of 8 families. Luo Feng's was one of them. Ka-cha. Luo Feng opened the door with his key. Bro, you're back. A voice came from inside the house. Yup, Luo Feng closed the door and scanned the entire house. His house had 1 bedroom and 1 living room, with an area of 36 square meters. He, his brother, and his parents, a total of 4 people, lived in this 36 square meter house. They've been living here for as long as they can remember. Hua, what are you reading? Luo Feng walked towards the balcony. On the balcony, a sickly pale skinny teenager was sitting in a wheelchair with an English book in his hand. Luo Feng glanced at it and laughed. Oh, it's about the investment guru price? Isn't the stock god Buffett the most famous investment guru? Luo Feng doesn't know anything about investments or stock. Buffett doesn't really suit me. And Price's theories and thoughts are very close to mine, so I can use them as a reference. The skinny youth raised his head towards Luo Feng and revealed a smile. Continue reading, laughed Luo Feng. Inadvertently, Luo Feng's gaze swept over his brother's legs and his heart couldn't help but to feel pain. When his brother was young, his legs were crushed by a car. They were completely crushed from his thighs down, causing his brother to become a cripple. It was very stressful for a disabled person to survive in today's society. Her younger brother could only receive his education through the internet. Not being exposed to sunlight for a long period of time had caused the younger brother's face to become sickly pale. Also, or he doesn't have many friends, and your younger brother is more introverted. My parents don't earn a high salary, and they have to support me and my younger brother. My younger brother is disabled. The burden on our family is too great, so we can only live in this low-rent house. My younger brother is disabled and has little contact with society. It would be very difficult for him to find a wife in the future. Who would want to marry a cripple with broken legs? I must change the fate of the entire family, Luo Feng thought to himself. Why is it that even though I have a crush on Su Xian, I didn't chase after her or date her? The law states that you can get married at the age of 18, so many people date in high school and get married after high school. Those who don't date in high school are few and far between. Why didn't I? Because I don't have time to waste on dating. My family isn't rich, and I don't have any powerful teachers to guide me. I can only rely on myself. Luo Feng's gaze landed on the old sofa in the living room. This was a sofa that could be used as a bed, After so many years, my family of 4 has been living in this small house, 1 bedroom and 1 living room. My younger brother and I are in the only bedroom, but my parents have been sleeping on the living room sofa for so many years. I must let my parents and brother live in a big house with an elevator. I must let my parents and brother live in a big bed. I must let my brother not have to work so hard every time he goes downstairs. The house must have large windows that allow sunlight to shine in. Who knows how many times Luo Feng thought about these words. Because of this, he worked very hard since he was young. So, that's why he became one of the 3 elite dojo students out of the 5,000 students in the 3rd high school. Out of the 3, only he came from a normal family. The other 2 were the children of rich families. Ho-ho-ho, water continuously flowed from the tap and quickly filled up the electric kettle. Shishi, Luo Feng plugged in the kettle and held his history book as he sat on the sofa and continuously memorized the important points in the book. Suddenly, beep! The kettle boiled. Luo Feng put down the book and poured some water into the thermos. Then, he poured a large plastic cup of hot water and placed it on the table. A.D. 2026, the Battle of Hongzhe occurred at Hongzhe Lake. Yep, 2026 Luo Feng memorized the historical events one by one. Luo Feng was the best at math among all the subjects. However, he was most interested in history, because every time he looked at the history of the 21st century, he couldn't help but sigh. This is the history of humanity's revolution. Hua Luo Feng walked to his brother's side. Brother, what's up? Luo Hua put down the book in his hand. There are a total of 139 important points in this book. I've already marked them out, so you can ask them. Luo Feng handed over the history book in his hand. Luo Hua couldn't help but to laugh as he received it. All right, it's rare to have a chance to test you. Brother, listen up, I'm going to give you a question. If you get it wrong, you'll lose face. Go ahead. Luo Feng smiled as he sat on the sofa. With his own strength, he killed the tiger head dragon in the Yangtze River and saved hundreds of thousands of civilians, allowing them to be successfully transferred to the Jiangnan base. Who was the one who sacrificed himself? Where was he from? His age at the time of death? The exact date of the event? Luo Hua carefully flipped through the book and asked a question. The one who sacrificed himself was Dong Nanbiao, who was awarded a 4-star hero medal by the country. He was originally from Taixing, Jiangsu. When he died, he was 39 years old. The exact date of the event should be A.D. 2018. Luo Feng couldn't help but to frown. Luo Hua couldn't help but to ask, what's the exact date of A.D. 2018? Yeah, I think. Luo Feng was a bit unsure. I think it was June 18th. Haha, you got the first question wrong. Luo Hua shook his head. Dong Nanbiao, who was awarded a 4-star hero medal, was indeed originally from Taixing, Jiangsu. When he died, he was 39 years old. However, the exact date of the event was June 16, 2018. Luo Feng couldn't help but to slap his head as he shook his head and laughed bitterly. 16 and 18 often get it wrong. Ask again. Alright, listen carefully. The second question, Luo Hua seemed to be very excited. A.D. 2023 at. As the two brothers asked and answered, time flew by. I've already asked half of the questions in this book. I asked 68 questions, and you answered 63 of them right and 5 wrong. Luo Hua raised his head and looked at the clock on the wall. Mom and Dad are coming back, so I'll ask you one last question. Next time, I'll ask the other half. One last question? Alright, ask. Luo Feng was extremely focused. This is the most basic question. Tell me the main events of the Grand Nirvana period, said Luo Hua. Luo Feng's expression was a bit serious. The history of the Grand Nirvana period was the most important part of humanity's revolution. At the beginning of the 21st century, the entire world had several influenza viruses. From the SARS virus in 2003, to the H1N1 virus in 2009, and finally, in 2013, the even more terrifying R virus appeared. As the R virus spread, it evolved into more than 20 variants, which made it even harder to prevent the spread of the virus. Deaths occurred in all the countries of the world. As the prevention continued, the epidemic was controlled, however. In January 2015, the R virus evolved into its most terrifying variant, which was called the RR virus. In the past, the R virus's variants were spread through bodily fluids. Some of the variants could be spread through water, but they didn't survive long in water. However, this RR virus can be spread through bodily fluids and water. The most terrifying thing is, it can be spread through the air. It can survive in the air for an astonishing 3 hours. Chapter 3. As soon as the RR virus appeared, it quickly spread to the world. All life in the world, whether it's humans, birds, or beasts, as long as they need to breathe, they are infected with the RR virus. When humans discovered the existence of the RR virus, it was already too late. After the RR virus infection, the mortality rate is extremely high, reaching almost 30%. In just 3 months, according to post-event statistics, in 3 months, in addition to the death of a large number of animals, the world's population dropped by nearly 2 billion. These 3 months had been like a nightmare. Scientists all over the world were helpless in the face of this virus. Human survivors of nearly 5 billion people, who survived, naturally produced antibodies in their bodies. After this nightmarish 3 months, the world was immersed in endless grief. Luo Feng said slowly, during this process, the 5 billion human survivors found that their bodies had become better. Almost every human's strength, speed, cell activity, and skin toughness had more than doubled. Even an ordinary person can easily break the world's weightlifting and 100m running world records in the past. However, the disaster began. Humans who have been living comfortably have their physical conditions increased so much. The birds and beasts that also survived the RR virus, they have always followed the survival of the fittest of nature. This time, the physical changes made the strength of various birds and beasts much more amazing than humans. And some of the terrifying monsters even have wisdom. September 2015, with the attack of the endless creatures in the ocean as the beginning, countless birds and beasts transformed into monsters and began to attack the human settlements. Bloody crazy! In the war between humans and monsters, people were shocked to find that the hot weapons that they had always been proud of only worked on some low-level monsters. And the powerful birds and beasts were not afraid of bullets and artillery at all. The bullets hit their bodies, and they couldn't even break through the scales. The missile attack was easily avoided by the monsters with fast reflexes and speed. Even if humans used nuclear bombs to attack, they were shocked to find that the monster's defense was too strong. Only in the core area of the nuclear bomb attack range, a large number of monsters died, and in the larger area, the monsters didn't die. The power of nuclear bombs was far less than what humans thought. Even though it killed a bunch of monsters, the nuclear radiation gave birth to even more terrifying monsters. The most famous one was the most terrifying blood demon Sirius in the past. The blood demon Sirius had the ability to fly, and it killed more than 1 million humans. It was only then that humans realized that nuclear radiation could actually cause some monsters to mutate. An extremely terrifying existence has appeared. There are terrifying existences among the monsters, but there are also powerful fighters among the humans. Back then, the blood demon Sirius was severely wounded by a human super expert who could also fly, the Thunder God, who currently ranks second in the world, and fled. These powerful fighters saved a large number of normal citizens at critical moments and helped the army fight against the monster hordes. During this period of time, a large number of moving and tragic stories emerged. As for the human scientist, Claude Senna, based on the materials of the monster carcasses and the blue-gold metal found on the moon, He invented an alloy that was even harder than diamond, crow alloy. Because of this, the powerful humans no longer have to fight with their bare hand. They have terrifying weapons that can cut through the monster's fur and scales. In Luo Feng's mind, he clearly remembered this part of history recorded in the book. In the course of the war, a large number of cities were destroyed. In the land of China, the country urgently built 6 bases and moved a large number of people to these 6 bases. In terms of powerful fighters, our country and India, which worships ancient yoga, had the most powerful fighters. And America, the European Union, and Russia were the leaders in terms of technology. Because of the countless monsters in the ocean, almost every island country was destroyed. Even now, the ocean is still the territory of the monsters. In the war between the monsters and humans, only our country, India, America, the European Union, and Russia were able to protect themselves. The other countries have long since been destroyed. At the critical moment, with the 5 countries as the core, the Earth Alliance was established. The Earth Alliance's allied forces assisted in building human bases all over the world. The war between the monsters and humans began in September 2015. In March 2021, the successful development of the super high-frequency laser cannon killed more than 10 S-grade monsters and 2 SS-grade monsters. The large-scale war between the monsters and humans finally ended. Luo Feng sighed. An entire 5.5 years of war, the most terrifying war. In this war, close to 1 billion people died. Only the 5 countries maintained the country system. The survivors of the other countries entered the human bases and lived together. Until now, on land, humans have the advantage. However, there are simply too many monsters in the ocean. The ocean is still the territory of the monsters. From 2013 to 2021, these 8 years will be the grand nirvana period in human history. Luo Feng sat on the sofa and slowly said, "Ding, ding, ding." The sound of the clock echoed in the room. The clock on the wall rang 5 times. It was already 5 p.m. Grand nirvana period. Luo Hua also sighed. Bro, to be honest, I really couldn't imagine that before the grand nirvana period, there were over 200 countries on Earth. How many people were there? Only 7 billion. Some small countries were simply too small. I'm afraid that a single powerful monster would be able to destroy that small country. Luo Feng nodded. So, right now there are 5 countries and 23 cities on Earth. On Earth, there are a total of 5 countries. China, India, America, the European Union, and Russia. There are also 23 human bases in South America, Africa, and so on. In other words, there are 23 cities. China has a total of 6 human bases, which are currently the 6 cities. Luo Feng's home is in Jian section of Yangzhou City, one of the 8 cities of Jiangnan City. The entire population of Jiangnan City is close to 200 million, and Yangzhou City, one of the 8 cities of Jiangnan City, has a population of over 10 million. In the past, the human bases of Jiangnan City were mainly formed by large amounts of people from Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Of course, there are also people from Anhui. So far away. Luo Hua looked at the clock on the wall. Right now, it's already 2056 AD. Over 30 years have passed since the Grand Nirvana period. In human society, going to the dojo to train is something that almost everyone has to do. Human society is much stronger than 30 years ago. Luo Feng nodded. In these 30 years, the number of powerful fighters has increased by quite a bit. Technology has also improved a bit. However, there are also quite a few terrifying existences among the monsters. Ka! The door opened and a middle-aged couple walked in. The middle-aged man's clothes were soaked in sweat and had paint stains on them. He seemed to be quite tired. The middle-aged woman wasn't very tall. She carried a basket with some vegetables and meat in it. Dad, Mom, Luo Feng immediately stood up. This couple is his parent. Father Luo Honghua, Mother Gong Xian Lan. He yeah Feng, you study you study. Don't worry about me. Luo Hongguo laughed as he said. His son is about to take his exams, so studying is naturally the most important thing for him. Luo Hongguo lowered his head and saw a large plastic cup of cold water on the table. He couldn't help but to feel warm. Every time he comes back, there will always be cold water prepared. After a day of work, he would pick up this large plastic cup and gulp down all of it in one breath. He let out a carefree breath. Hurry and go take a shower. Look at how sweaty you are, laughed Gong Xian Lan. Ha ha! Luo Hongguo laughed as he immediately went to grab a change of clothes and walked towards the small bathroom that his family has used for many years. Gong Xian Lan laughed as she looked at her two sons. Feng Hua, Mom will make red braised pork for you guys today. My favorite food, yelled Luo Hua immediately. Luo Feng couldn't help but to laugh as he watched his mother put on a scarf and prepare dinner. Luo Feng was very clear that his mother always goes grocery shopping in the evening after work because the prices of vegetables and meat are much cheaper than in the morning. However, the vegetables and meat in the evening aren't as fresh as in the morning. Luo Feng looked at the bathroom again and thought to himself, I'll definitely get the fighter title as soon as possible. When that happens, Mom won't have to go grocery shopping in the afternoon and Dad won't have to do the hard work of renovating. In his heart, Luo Feng always hoped that his parents could rest and quietly enjoy the sun and good food. Feng Luo Hongguo, who just finished showering, walked over. Dad has something to talk to you about. What is it? Luo Feng looked at his father. Luo Hongguo slightly smiled. It's like this, Feng. I've never asked you about your plans after high school. Can you tell Dad about it? Luo Hongguo rarely talks about these things with his son because he doesn't want to give him too much pressure. He knows that his son has always been hardworking, and he has always been doing extremely well. When Luo Hongguo said this, his mother, Gong Xian Lan, who was cooking, slowed down. Parents are very concerned about their son's future. Dad, here's what I think, Luo Feng directly said. With my grades, I believe that getting into Jiangnan's #1 military school shouldn't be too hard. Right now, I've already received the title of elite student and entered Jiangnan's #1 military school. I'll be directly trained as a military officer. Dad, Mom, you can also directly enter the military family sector. There are different levels to being a soldier. Of course, China is recruiting soldiers right now. However, normal soldiers don't have many benefits. And if you can become an elite student at such a young age and enter Jiangnan's #1 military school, you can be considered a master of both the pen and the sword. The country will definitely focus on training you. The country will directly give you a house in the military family sector. A house for a military officer's family member will naturally be 100 times better than this cheap house. Then what if you can't get into Jiangnan's #1 military school? Said Luo Hongguo. Feng, don't give yourself too much pressure. Jiangnan City has a total of 2 military schools. If you don't perform well in the exam, you won't be able to enter the #1 military school. However, you definitely won't have a problem entering the 2nd military school. Luo Feng was very clear about his grades. Normally, he would score around 50 points higher than the minimum score for an exam, but in the 2nd military school, as long as you hit the minimum score for an exam, you can enter. In today's exam, there is no such thing as 1 or 2 subjects. There are only 2 types of subjects, undergraduate and specialist, and there is only one minimum score. Above the minimum score is undergraduate, and below the minimum score is specialist. In the 2nd military school, with the title of elite student, you'll also be trained as a military officer. You won't be treated too differently, laughed Luo Feng. To be able to get into an undergraduate, 2 out of 10 people can do it. However, in high school, only 1 out of 1,000 people can obtain the title of elite student. Yeah, as long as you're confident. But, Feng, don't give yourself too much pressure. But little Feng, as long as your mom and I have a stable life, nodded Luo Honghua, you're just giving yourself too much pressure. Not at all, laughed Luo Feng. I don't have much pressure. Young people just need to have a bit of drive. Luo Feng said this, but he thought to himself, Dad, Mom, brother, after I finish my exam, you'll be able to live a good life. When I obtain the title of fighter, you won't have to work so hard anymore. Hurry up and get the bowls and chopsticks. Dinner is ready, laughed Gong Xianlan as she urged. Okay, laughed Luo Honghua as he stood up and went to get the bowls and chopsticks. The vegetables smell so good. Luo Feng smelled the soup and helped carry the bowls. I smell the aroma of red braised pork, wow, yelled Luo Hua excitedly as he moved his wheelchair towards the dining table. The family of 4 was happy and harmonious. Chapter 4. After dinner, his parents took his brother, Luo Hua, for a walk downstairs. Luo Feng, on the other hand, went to tutor. Around 6 p.m., the sky was almost completely dark. This tutoring job has to end for now. Luo Feng was like a leopard as he nimbly and swiftly moved through the alleys. Luo Feng was like a leopard as he nimbly and swiftly moved through the alleys. In front of him was a dead end, but Luo Feng's entire body leaped and directly soared over 2 meters into the air. His left hand lightly touched the top of the wall and with a bit of force, his entire body arrived in another alley. Flying forward was also a warm-up for tutoring. Luo Feng's current speed was maintained at 15 meters per second, which is 54 kilometers per hour. This speed wasn't Luo Feng's maximum speed, but it was enough for a warm-up. There's only 1 more month until the high school exams, so I'll stop tutoring for now. I've been tutoring for half a year, so I've earned 20,000. Luo Feng only found a tutoring job last year after receiving the title of elite student. He taught a youth basic agility technique. The salary was $100 an hour. Every week, he would teach for an hour every night for 5 days. In other words, his monthly salary would be around $2,000. Dad's monthly salary would only be around $2,000 to $3,000 after working hard for a day. I've only been tutoring for an hour and I'm already this much higher than Dad. This is the difference between a normal person and an elite student. And if I become a fighter, the difference will be huge. Luo Feng's eyes focused. In the alleyway in front of him, there was a truck that was turning around and blocking the road. However, Luo Feng didn't slow down. As he ran, he suddenly leaped 2 to 3 meters into the air. Then, he took 2 steps on the wall of the alleyway and leaped down, continuing to speed forward. After a while, Luo Feng was already outside a quiet residential area. This is where Mom and Dad should be. Luo Feng stopped and looked at the quiet residential area in front of him. Luo Feng stopped and looked at the quiet residential sector in front of him. This sector's residential population density was relatively low. There was a man-made pool inside, and there were large amounts of flowers and trees as decorations. Even the high-rise residential buildings had sky gardens on every floor. Other than the high-rise residential areas, there were also villas. You have to know, as of now, China has a total of 6 bases, which are the 6 main cities. Each city has an astonishing population. For example, Jiangnan City has close to 200 million people. Naturally, land was very scarce. Stacked villas and townhouses were both very rare, and the prices were very high. As for the more extravagant detached villas, they would have to pay a huge luxury tax. I'm going to block 18 number 1801, said Luo Feng to the security guard as he stood at the sector entrance. Wait a moment. The security of the sector pressed the number of the video phone. Instantly, the camera on the side was pointed at Luo Feng. Owner 1801's voice came from the video phone. It's little Luo, let him in. Yes, sir. The security guard immediately let him in. 1 hour later, Luo Feng walked out of the sector. Well, the tutoring is over. Let's go to the dojo and see if my strength has improved recently. The Dojo of Limits, the world's #1 dojo, created by the world's strongest Hong martial arts centers, were spread all over the world. Luo Feng swiped his student ID at the entrance of the dojo and entered. The Dojo of Limits was like a huge monster. The area it occupied was even bigger than a high school. The main entrance of the dojo was wide enough for 10 cars to enter at the same time. Within the dojo, there were 3 large silver-white buildings that looked like 3 spaceships. Senior. Hello, Senior. On the road to the dojo, there were large amounts of dojo students on the grass. When these students saw the elite student ID on Luo Feng's chest, they immediately became respectful. Inside the dojo, there were 3 large buildings: the beginner student building, the intermediate student building, and the advanced student building. The first and second floors of the advanced student building were both large lecture halls. Each of these large lecture halls could hold thousands of people. The dojo's instructors and teachers all taught in these large lecture halls. There were around 30,000 to 40,000 students in the Dojo of Limit. Only when you're 16 years old can you become a dojo student. After 30 years old, you're forbidden from coming to the dojo to study. There were around a few hundred advanced students in the dojo. Most of them were around 20 years old. And Luo Feng was only 18 years old. Hello, Senior. Luo Feng listened to the respectful greetings as he entered the 3rd floor of the advanced student building. This was where only advanced students could enter. On the 3rd floor, there were around a dozen people in the large training hall that was around 100 meters wide. Madman, you're here. After entering the large training hall, the dozen or so advanced students all greeted him enthusiastically. Brother Wang, Brother Yang, Sister Li. Luo Feng laughed as he yelled. Looking at these big brothers and sisters, he felt warm in his heart. These dozen or so people were all over 20 years old. Naturally, Luo Feng was the youngest. Of course, the advanced students in the Xian region's Dojo of Limits aren't just these dozen or so. There are over 100 advanced students in total. However, without a teacher to teach, most people are too lazy to come. Unless their family is poor and they don't have a place to train, only then would they come to the dojo's training hall to train. As for the rich, they usually had their own specialized training room. So, these dozen or so people all live in cheap rentals. Since they're all poor, they naturally formed a small group. And Luo Feng, because of his rage, defeated 3 advanced students from rich families in a row. He was given the nickname Madman. I wonder how much my strength has improved in this half a month of training. Luo Feng walked towards the fist strength tester machine in the corner of the training hall. Luo Feng walked towards the fist strength testing machine in the corner of the training hall. There were 2 fist strength testing machines in the corner of the training hall. Whether it's the intermediate student exam, advanced student exam, or even the fighter exam, they all require fist strength to be tested. Huff, huff. Luo Feng slowly took in a deep breath and completely relaxed his body. Suddenly, his gaze focused and his entire body was like a lazy lion that suddenly leapt up. His spine was like a bowstring that instantly tightened. The force from his feet traveled to his waist and through his spine. Luo Feng's right fist was like a cannonball that drew an arc. Purring! Luo Feng's right fist smashed onto the fist strength tester's target. The target violently shook. Suddenly, a number appeared on the screen of the fist strength tester. 809 kg. Madman, not bad. Hee, you passed the 800 kilograms barrier. A skinny brute that was over 1.9 meters tall laughed as he clapped his hands. This brute even had a hideous scar on his face. Brother Yang. Luo Feng laughed. Compared to Brother Yang, I'm still lacking quite a bit. Brother Yang, please help me turn on the speed tester machine. Brother Yang, named Yang Wu, is one of the top 3 advanced students in the Dojo of Limit. However, he's lacking in speed, otherwise he would have passed the prospective fighter exam long ago. For advanced students to become a fighter, you need to pass 2 exams. The first exam is the fighter fitness exam, which is also the prospective fighter exam. Once you pass, it means that your fitness level has reached the standard of a fighter. You're already a prospective fighter. And the second exam is the fighter combat exam. Just having fitness level doesn't give you the right to become a fighter. Only by passing a real battle with a monster can you obtain the title of fighter. Want to test my speed? Alright, Yang Wu laughed as he walked to the side of the track and turned on the speed tester. Ka. The speed tester turned on and the camera lit up. Huff, huff, Luo Feng adjusted his breathing and stood on the track. The track was 60 meters long. And the area closest to the speed tester is the speed testing area. Luo Feng suddenly exerted force. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Luo Feng reached his maximum speed. His two legs stomped forcefully on the ground, creating a powerful force that caused his entire body to shoot like an arrow. With a gust of wind, Luo Feng charged past the speed tester's area with a schwa sound. After that, Luo Feng naturally slowed down and stopped. How much? Luo Feng laughed as he walked over. Hee, crazy, you've improved a bit since last time. Not bad, not bad. Brother Yang looked at the number displayed on the speed tester screen in shock and yelled, "Come see for yourself." Luo Feng walked over and the number on the screen was 23. 8 milliseconds. Not bad. Luo Feng wasn't too happy. The fighter fitness level exam, which is also the prospective fighter exam, has a total of 3 tests. They are strength, fist strength, speed, and reaction speed. In terms of reaction speed, Luo Feng is very talented. As of now, he barely meets the requirements of a fighter. However, for strength, fist strength, the passing threshold for the prospective fighter exam is 900 kilograms. For speed, the passing threshold for the prospective fighter exam is 25 meters per second, which is 100 meters in 4 seconds. Chapter 5. It gets harder and harder to increase my strength, Luo Feng thought, from 23.8 meters per second to 25 meters per second. It'll probably take a year. And increasing my fist strength from 809 kilograms to 900 kilograms will probably take even longer. If I want to get the title of fighter, I'll probably have to wait until I enter university. If I faint again, then my body fitness level will probably reach the requirements of a fighter. Of course, the coma he wants isn't to be beaten into a coma. It's to have a headache and faint. Luo Feng has a headache. Every day he would have a headache, but he would endure it. And when the headache reaches its limit, he would faint. Ever since he was young, Luo Feng has fainted twice. When he was 8, his brother's leg was crushed by a car. At that time, Luo Feng was so sad that he suddenly felt an extreme headache. At the same time, his heart rate was shockingly fast and the blood flow in his body reached a shocking speed. He felt like his heart was going to jump out of his chest until he couldn't take it anymore and fainted. And when he was 12, his mother was hospitalized. Luo Feng, who was afraid of losing his mother, panicked and also had a terrible headache. His heart rate was shockingly fast and he fainted again. After fainting twice, his family brought Luo Feng to the hospital, but they couldn't find anything wrong with him. Even now, the brain is still a difficult problem to solve in the medical field. However, the 2 fainting spells have strangely improved my physical fitness by a large margin. Luo Feng was looking forward to it. When I woke up from these 2 fainting times, my strength, speed, and reflexes clearly increased a lot. This allowed me to directly pass the intermediate student exam and obtain the title of intermediate student when I entered the dojo at the age of 16. Because of my good foundation, I obtained the title of elite student when I was 17. If I can pass out again, my strength will definitely increase again. Fainting is the body's way of protecting itself, so it's not entirely a bad thing. Luo Feng has had headaches since he was young, but after he fainted for the first time when he was 8, he realized that the headaches lessened quite a bit. When he was 12, he fainted again. The headaches lessened again. With this trend, if I can faint again, the headaches will lessen again. After fainting once or twice, maybe the headaches will disappear forever. Luo Feng was very hopeful. After all, fainting once will lessen his headaches, and his body fitness level will also increase. Unfortunately, fainting was not something that could be done just because one wanted to. It had only happened twice in his life. When the headache reaches its limit, the heartbeat will also reach its limit. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the watch on his wrist. This was a watch with a pulse function. But, even if I run at my limit, my heart won't beat more than 120 times a minute. Luo Feng looked at his watch. How good would it be if my heart could beat 200 times a minute? The signs before fainting are an extremely painful headache and an extremely fast heartbeat. Unfortunately, no matter how intense the exercise was, his heart rate could not be so fast that he would faint from a headache. In the training hall, Yang Wu, who had a scar on his face, stood in front of the fist strength testing machine. He didn't even gather his strength seriously. He just casually punched the target with both his fists. Bang! Pung! Pung! A series of low punching sounds rang out, and a series of numbers flowed across the screen of the punching machine. 956 kilograms, 912 kilograms, 936 kilograms, 981 kilograms. Yang Wu punched dozens of times in one breath before stopping. Luo Feng, who was watching on the side, couldn't help but to be envious. His full-strength punch was only 809 kilograms. If Brother Yang continuously punched, it would be pretty good if the strength of each punch exceeded 700 kilograms. Brother Yang, when will my full-strength punch have the strength of your casual punch? That would be great. Luo Feng laughed on the side. You kid. Yang Wu walked over and laughed as he patted Luo Feng's shoulder. You're only 19 this year, just 18. When your brother Yang was your age, I was only an intermediate member of the dojo. With your improvement speeds, you can definitely reach the fighter fitness level in 2 years. Hee hee. A 20-year-old fighter sure makes people jealous. Luo Feng laughed. The dojo recruits students between the ages of 16 and 30 because this is the stage where one matures the fastest. The earlier one becomes a fighter, the more powerful they will be in the future. Luo Feng became an elite member of the dojo at the age of 17 last year. Indeed, many people were jealous. Oh yeah, crazy. You're about to take your high school exams, right? What are you going to do after that? Yang Wu laughed. I'm preparing to enter military school. Luo Feng slightly laughed. Normal military school recruits students who only become basic officers of the regular army after graduation. As for me, entering some special forces after graduation shouldn't be a problem. Oh, Yang Wu curled his lips after hearing this. Entering military school is good, but I feel like your freedom will be limited. After you graduate from military school and enter the special forces, you'll have to follow the rules of the army. I can't take it, so it's better to be a free fighter. A free fighter isn't bad. Luo Feng shook his head. However, I don't want my parents to worry. After entering military school, I'll enter the army. At least in terms of safety, it's much better than being a free fighter. A fighter usually has 4 paths. The first path is to join the army and become a member. The good thing about this is that it's much safer. The country won't easily let a fighter take risk. The country will also give a fighter's family a lot of benefits, so that the fighter won't have to worry about his family. The second path is to join the dojo. The dojo's management system is relatively loose, so it belongs to a relatively loose group. The Dojo of Limits was created by the world's strongest fighter, Hong. After becoming a fighter of the Dojo of Limits, there are quite a few benefits. The third path is to join some corporation, some family, some large power, etc., and become a hired thug. The fourth path is to join the mercenary army. This is the kind where you risk your life, the most dangerous, and the most free. Entering the army is safe. However, I don't want to live a life of no freedom. Yang Wu shook his head. This year, I'll probably participate in the prospective fighter exam again. I should be able to pass. Once I pass, I'll immediately participate in the fighter combat exam and work hard to become a fighter this year. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Brother Yang, you have confidence in passing the prospective fighter exam? Haha, Yang Wu laughed. I've already met the 3 fitness tests, fist strength and reflexes. My weakness is speed. However, right now, if I perform well, I can barely reach 25 meters per second. If I work hard these few days, I should be able to pass the exam. Brother Yang, congratulations. Luo Feng was happy for Brother Yang, since Brother Yang has been fighting for many years to become a fighter. Brother Yang, what are you going to do after you become a fighter? Of course I'll join the Dojo of Limit. Yang Wu smiled. The Dojo of Limit system is very relaxed. Plus, the dojos are spread all over the world. There are many senior fighters, which is very beneficial to my development. Besides, I can rest whenever I want and go out to hunt monsters whenever I want. I have a lot of freedom. Luo Feng nodded. Madman. Yang Wu looked at Luo Feng. You're crazy deep down, kid. I won't make a mistake. I feel like you're very suited to walk the path of a free fighter. How much freedom would one have if they joined a dojo? The Dojo of Limits will also help us a lot. Luo Feng hesitated. Seeing this, Yang Wu shook his head and laughed. Lunatic, independent cultivators often go through fire and water, tempering themselves between life and death. It was more dangerous. But at the same time, because they often fought on the edge of life and death, their strength improved the fastest. Look, no matter where you go, the majority of the experts among the martial artists are independent martial artists. At night, the street lights were on. Luo Feng, who left the Dojo of Limits, silently walked by himself on the sidewalk. What Yang Wu said to him before really affected him. There are actually 2 paths that are suitable for me. Luo Feng thought to himself, one is to enter a military academy and smoothly graduate. After that, I'll enter the special forces. The second is to become a fighter. After joining the Dojo of Limits and becoming a fighter under the name of the Dojo of Limits, I'll be able to freely hunt monsters. Of these 2 paths, the first is to enter a military academy. High safety and good family welfare. Even if I die in battle, the country will take good care of my family. The second path is to become an independent fighter. Frequently fighting on the edge of life and death will increase my strength quickly. Hunting monsters can also be exchanged for huge amounts of money, which makes money quickly. This path, dangerous, increases strength quickly, makes money quickly, and is free. The only downside is that it's dangerous. Luo Feng kept thinking. Actually, he's been thinking about this problem for the past year. My parents only have 2 sons. My brother is already disabled. If I become an independent fighter and die in a battle, what will my parents do for the rest of their lives? My brother needs someone to take care of him. My parents are getting old. If I die, what will happen to them? I'll enter a military academy. In the future, when I enter the special forces, I can also learn military martial arts. Combined with the extreme martial arts I learned in the Dojo of Limits, my strength should be able to increase again. In the military, I can also train my strength. And even if I die in the military as a fighter, the country will still give my parents a pension every month. Luo Feng thought for his parents' sake and chose to enter a military academy. However, a military academy isn't a place you can enter just because you want to. You also need to have high academic grades. Everything will depend on June's high school exams. Chapter 6. A month before the exams, Luo Feng spent almost all of his energy on studying. As he continued to revise and test after test, Luo Feng became more and more confident in his exams. I'm 90% sure that I'll be able to get into Jiangnan's top military school. This was what Luo Feng was thinking. The 7th of June was the first day of the college entrance examination. China's high school exams were held on June 7th, 8th and 9th, the same as before the Grand Nirvana period. Xi'an District No. 1 High School. According to the exam arrangements, Luo Feng, who was originally a student of the 3rd high school, will take his high school exams in this high school. Daughter, do your best. Don't worry, Dad. Tian, don't give yourself too much pressure. Outside the first senior high school's gate, a large number of college entrance examination candidates and their parents had gathered. Outside the first senior high school's gate, there was also a row of policemen armed with live ammunition. Little Feng, you have to relax during the exam. Even if our family can't get into the top military academy, the 2nd military academy is fine. Relax. Father Luo Honghua looked at his son and said with a smile. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Beep, beep, along with the loud sound of a car horn, a black Mercedes-Benz S600, full of aristocratic aura, slowly drove towards the gate of the first high school under the escort of several police motorcycles. The surrounding examinees' parents immediately moved to the side, their gazes all focused on the car. The latest Mercedes-Benz S600 could accelerate to 100 km per hour in 1.6 seconds, and the maximum speed could reach 500 km per hour. Of course, this bit of performance wasn't much. The Mercedes-Benz S600 was a brand that had been passed down since the Grand Nirvana period. Its history was what attracted people the most. 3 people got out of the Mercedes-Benz S600 and walked toward the school gate while talking and laughing. The baldy on the left is Chief Zhang of our Xi'an District's police station. The one on the right is Director Liu of the Education Bureau, right? The one in the middle must be the martial artist in charge of the examination venue's security. Outside the examination hall, a large number of parents and examinees were engaged in a heated discussion. Most of their gazes were focused on the person in the middle. Their gazes were filled with excitement, worship, and curiosity. Currently, the battle between humans and monsters was still ongoing. Ordinary people were forbidden from leaving the boundaries of the city, while martial artists were existences that could fight one-on-one with monsters. The entire human society was also very grateful to the warriors, grateful for their great contributions to humanity. Ordinary people naturally admired martial artists. Warriors belonged to a group of people with a transcendent status in the human community. That's a martial artist. His father, Luo Honghua, also looked at that person. Every time the security of the college entrance examination venue is commanded by a martial artist. Martial artist. Luo Feng looked over. That fighter gave off a feeling that made one's heart palpitate. His eyes were like the cold eyes of a venomous snake, and he didn't smile on the way. Facing the police chief and Director Liu of the Education Bureau, this martial artist just nodded indifferently from time to time, simply too lazy to pay attention to them. In the near future, I will also obtain the title of fighter. Luo Feng thought to himself. Kaka, the gate of the first senior high school slowly opened. It's time to enter. Immediately, a voice rang out. Little Feng, it's time to enter. Hurry up and go in. His father Luo Honghua said. Beside him, his mother Gong Xian Lan also said, Go quickly, Mom will go back and cook for you later. Your dad and brother will wait here for you to finish your exams. Yes. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Brother. Luo Hua sat in his wheelchair and raised his fist towards Luo Feng as he smiled. You have to do your best. Do your best. Luo Feng also raised his fist. After that, Luo Feng turned around and joined the crowd of examinees. After going through the inspection, he passed through the school gate one by one. In the exam room, the exam ID and exam ID were placed on the top right corner of the table for the examiner to check. The exam papers were then handed out. 2056 Jiangnan City College Entrance Exam. Exam A. The clear line on the top of the exam paper. The first exam is the science exam. Looking at the exam paper in front of him, Luo Feng scanned it and then looked at the last few big questions. He seemed to have seen them before. The questions this time shouldn't be too hard. If the questions aren't hard, then it'll be hard for me to use my advantage in science, so I can only carefully answer the questions and try my best not to lose points. Luo Feng immediately started writing. There were 3 exams in the college entrance examination: the science exam, the liberal arts exam, and the final math exam. The maximum score for each exam is 250 points, so the total score is 750 points. The science exam is a combination of physics, chemistry, and biology. The liberal arts exam is a combination of language, history, politics, and geography. The mathematics exam was naturally about mathematics. After humanity's grand nirvana period, especially with the continuous battles between humans and monsters, humans desperately researched technology and martial arts. This made everyone clearly understand the importance of math. Anyone who wants to achieve great things in the fields of computers, biology, and physics requires a solid foundation in math. So, mathematics had a very high status in the education system. Luo Feng is a bit weaker in liberal arts, but has a huge advantage in math. 7th of June, science exam. 8th of June, liberal arts exam. In the blink of an eye, it was already 9th of June. In the exam room, the math exam papers were just handed out. This is the math exam. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. The science exam isn't hard, but I should be able to do pretty well. I'll also do well in the liberal arts exam. In other words, I should be able to do well in both the science and liberal arts exams. As long as I don't mess up too much in the math exam, I'll definitely be able to get into Jiangnan's top military academy. Work hard. After encouraging himself, Luo Feng lowered his head and started answering the questions. The entire exam room was silent. Quite a few students frowned. Clearly, the questions were quite difficult. Every year's college entrance examination, the difficulty of the math questions isn't low. After all, this is for the sake of selecting future researchers. This is quite hard. Luo Feng also felt the difficulty of the questions. It's even harder than last year. However, the harder the better. If the questions were simple, those who were worse than him in math would probably get 220 points. He would probably only get 230 points. His advantage was very small. However, if the questions were difficult, he might only get 210 points, but those who were worse than him might only get 150 points. That would be a huge advantage. Pa! A crisp sound was heard. The exam invigilator immediately looked over and saw a student actually break the ballpoint pen in his hand. This student frowned and clenched his teeth. He lowered his head and stared at the exam. Clearly, this math question was way too difficult. After that, this student threw the broken pen in his hand to the side and took out another ballpoint pen to continue answering the exam. Looking at the looks of the students, this year's math exam is going to be very difficult, the invigilator thought to himself. Indeed, almost everyone in the exam room was frowning and thinking hard. Quite a few students were so anxious that they started crying. The students who were already bad at math felt like they couldn't answer this question, couldn't answer that question, couldn't answer the third question. After seeing this exam, the students almost collapsed. 1 hour later, in the exam room, the math exam took a total of 2.5 hours. At this time, Luo Feng finished the multiple choice and fill in the blank questions. All that was left was the calculation questions. In the math exam, the multiple choice questions and fill in the blank questions added up to a total of 90 points. And the calculation questions had 5 big questions. The total score for these 5 questions was 160 points. After all, only the big calculation questions could better reveal a student's math ability. This is really hard. I couldn't even solve 2 of the fill in the blank questions. Luo Feng took a deep breath. Next up are the calculation questions. This is the key to getting points. If you write one more question, It will be a difference of 30 or 40 points. There were 5 calculation questions. The first 4 questions were worth 30 points, while the last one was worth 40 points. Luo Feng faced a difficult problem in front of the first calculation question. On the toilet paper, Luo Feng continuously calculated and thought. Yeah, if I change the shape of this and reverse it, wouldn't I be able to convert it into the equations I need? Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Schwa, schwa, schwa. Once he figured out how to solve this difficult problem, it became much easier to write. He wrote out the first question in one breath and then carefully checked it again. Yeah, the first question succeeded. Luo Feng looked at the watch on his left wrist and his heart jumped. The first question took me 20 minutes? I need to hurry up. Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the second question. At first glance, Luo Feng felt that it was easy and immediately started calculating on the toilet paper. Yeah, not right. Luo Feng realized that he wasn't thinking straight and immediately frowned in thought. As time passed, Luo Feng continuously researched this question. Yeah, it should be like this. But how do I verify the next proof? Luo Feng's brain was rapidly thinking. Hurry, 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 I can't waste too much time on this question. How do I prove it? Luo Feng was anxious. At this time, on the watch on Luo Feng's left hand, the pulse number started to rise. 120, 125, 130, 140, 150. Just a little bit more and I can prove this question. I'll get 30 points. How do I deal with this? Luo Feng was getting more and more anxious. Time has to be allocated for exams, but the math calculation questions are worth a lot of points. Every exam candidate can't make too many mistakes in math questions if they want to do well. At this time, Luo Feng, who was completely focused on the exam questions, didn't notice the pulse on his watch at all. 160, 170, 180. Luo Feng felt his heart speed up, but he thought it was because of his anxiety during the exam, so he didn't care. Dong, dong, dong. Luo Feng suddenly felt as if his heart was being knocked by someone. His vision became blurry and he finally woke up. What's wrong with me? Why is my heart so uncomfortable? Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at the pulse reading on his watch. 230. This number made Luo Feng's face change dramatically. Ever since he passed out when he was 12 and bought this watch, Luo Feng has never seen his heart rate go over 180. So uncomfortable, Luo Feng felt as if his heart was about to jump out of his chest. The blood in his body continuously expanded and contracted under the power of his heart. Large amounts of blood flowed and an invisible energy entered the depths of Luo Feng's brain. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from his brain. Luo Feng couldn't help but to let out a sound. Examinee, what's wrong? The proctor hurried over and looked at Luo Feng in shock. At this time, Luo Feng's face was red as if blood was about to drip out. The veins on his forehead and arms were bulging and pulsating, making him look extremely ferocious. No, slow down, slow down. Luo Feng had a bad premonition and roared in his heart as he stared at his watch. 236, 242, 251. Dong, dong, dong. His heart was like a huge drum as it let out a low rumbling sound. His blood flowed rapidly. As his vision blurred, he saw the number 268. The sharp pain in his head caused Luo Feng to instantly faint. While he was unconscious, he faintly heard a voice. Examinee, wake up, wake up. Hurry, hurry and call an ambulance. Chapter 7. Ding, ding, ding. The urgent ringing of the bell reverberated throughout the campus of Xi'an District's No. 1 high school. The anxious parents who were originally sitting on the lawn or on the road outside the examination venue immediately stood up one by one. He peered into the campus through the railings of the wall. The bustling examinees all left the examination hall. The college entrance exam of Jiangnan City in 2056 officially ended. What the candidates needed to do next was to wait for the final exam scores in a week's time. How by? A slightly bald, seemingly scholarly middle-aged man stood at the school gate, smiling as he shouted at his son who was walking out of the examination hall. Dad, Zhang Haobai smiled as he walked over. How was the exam? The middle-aged man asked with a smile. Zhang Haobai shook his head and said helplessly, I can only say I did okay this time, but the math questions were really hard. From multiple-choice questions to fill-in-the-blanks to calculation questions, there were a lot of problems. Especially the calculation questions. Out of the 5 calculation questions, I only managed to solve 2. As for the other 3 questions, I can only try my best to answer part of them. I should be able to get some marks according to the steps. The 5 math questions tested the students' thinking. Naturally, they would be graded according to the step. Oh. Zhang Haobai's father, Zhang Zilong, frowned. Looks like your math score will be lower this time. It's okay, Dad. Difficult. It was difficult for all the examinees. I'm not the only one. Zhang Haobai laughed. The math questions are a bit harder, so the final score will be a bit lower. It shouldn't be a problem for me to enter the military academy. Oh, right. Zhang Zilong smiled and said, Previously, we were waiting at the school gate for you to finish the exam. That famous examinee from your school named Luo Feng actually fainted in the middle of the exam, around an hour before the end of the exam. Fainted in the exam room? Zhang Haobai widened his eyes. Dad, you're talking about Luo Feng? Yeah, that Luo Feng was taken away by the ambulance. Many people saw it, nodded Zhang Zilong. Listen, many parents are talking to their children about this. Luo Feng fainted? Zhang Haobai looked around and listened carefully. Sure enough, a large amount of parents and children were talking about the examinee that fainted in the exam room. Zhang Haobai clearly heard quite a few people talking about Luo Feng. Haha, to think that this poor kid would have such a day. Haha. Zhang Haobai couldn't help but laugh. Dad, you don't know this, but when we were at school, this guy always caused trouble for me. Zhang Haobai said angrily. Because he's stronger than me, he's always pressuring me. Even this guy has a day like this. Zhang Haobai was extremely happy. His anger towards Luo Feng had reached its peak. In reality, Luo Feng never cared about Zhang Haobai, but Zhang Haobai always treated Luo Feng as his opponent. Luo Feng surpassed him in both academics and martial arts, so naturally he felt bad. Haha, this little fellow has never seen the world. The psychological pressure was too great, and if one couldn't bear it, they would collapse. Leave him alone. Let's go. Your uncle knows that you've finished your college entrance examination today, so he personally booked a banquet for you. Let's go, Zhang Zilong said with a smile. Uncle? Zhang Haobai's eyes lit up. The reason why the Zhang family could be considered the wealthiest in the Xi'an district was because of his uncle, because his uncle was a martial artist. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Wei Wen, who had just come out of the examination hall, was anxious in front of his parents. How could Ah Feng have fainted in the examination hall? Impossible. Let's not talk about other things, but Feng's mental strength, even in the dojo of limits, is praised by the teachers. Wei Wen and Luo Feng weren't blood brothers, but they were closer than blood brothers. How could this be fake? We saw it with our own eyes. That Luo Feng's dad and his wheelchair-bound brother all rushed to the hospital, Wei Wen's father said. Hospital? It should be the nearest hospital. Dad, Mom, I'll go see Luo Feng first. I'll eat lunch later. As he said that, Wei Wen gave his exam supplies to his parents and ran towards the hospital. Xi'an District's People's Hospital. Luo Feng squeezed out a smile as he walked out of the hospital's lobby with his father and brother. At this time, Luo Hongguo and Luo Hua were worried that Luo Feng suffered too much. Dad, I'm fine. Let's go eat. Luo Feng had a calm look on his face. Even though he was a bit unwilling, Luo Feng knew that what had happened couldn't be changed. All he could do was accept it. Ah Feng, Ah Feng. A voice came from afar. Luo Feng raised his head and saw a shadow running towards the entrance of the hospital. It was his good brother, Wei Wen. Luo Feng was a bit moved as he saw Wei Wen rush over with his clothes drenched in sweat. He then asked, "One, how hard are the last 3 math questions?" He didn't even have the time to finish the last 3 questions. If the last 3 questions were so difficult that most people couldn't answer them, then he would be able to finish them. There was still hope for his result. It's quite difficult. Wei Wen nodded. This year's mathematics questions are very difficult. There are 5 calculation questions. It seems like only the 3rd question is slightly easier. The other 4 questions are very difficult. Not bad. Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. He still had a glimmer of hope. At 8:00 p.m. on the 16th of June, after the college entrance examination, students could check their college entrance examination results through the phone or the internet. Moreover, the cutoff score for the college entrance examination would also be released at the same time. June 16th, 7:00 at night. In Luo Feng's home, Luo Feng and Luo Hua's room was only Luo Feng. The door was closed and Luo Feng was sitting in front of his laptop. The mouse in his hand kept refreshing the web page. The college entrance examination results started at 8:00 p.m., but it usually starts a bit earlier. I'm afraid I won't be able to get into Jiangnan's top military academy this time. However, I wrote multiple choice questions, fill-in-the-blank questions, and the first 2 calculation questions. Even though I didn't completely solve the second question, I still wrote quite a few steps. They should give me some points based on the steps, Luo Feng thought to himself. If I'm lucky, I should be able to get around 120 points in math, Luo Feng was hoping. Both the liberal arts and science exams are normal. If I'm lucky, I should be able to get into the college entrance examination. As long as I can get into the college entrance examination, I'll be able to get into the second military academy of the 2 military academies. The first military academy is obviously better. However, it requires a lot of points. Luo Feng didn't have much hope. However, according to Luo Feng's own estimates, there's still some hope for the second military academy. Chem? Luo Feng's eyes flashed. The college entrance examination results page was refreshed. My God, please help me and let me get into the college entrance examination. As long as I get into the college entrance examination, I'll be able to get into the second military academy. Luo Feng was nervous. He entered his name, ID number, and exam ID number on the college entrance examination results page, and then clicked Inquiry. Whoosh! The page of the laptop flashed and a table appeared. Examinee, Luo Feng gender, male ID number, 4261232038060832111 exam ID number, 58786435678907666 exam ID number, 58786435678907666 liberal arts, 216 science, 223 math, 118 college entrance examination, 557. Chapter 8. 557 points, and the benchmark is 561? Luo Feng took a deep breath. Just 4 points. Just because of these 4 points, he won't have the chance to go to the military academy. 12 years of education, and this is the result. If I can't go to the military academy, then I can't go to the military academy. What's the big deal? Luo Feng's gaze froze. His right hand formed a blade and slashed forward. The air vibrated violently due to the blade's extreme speed, letting out a sound that made one's heart tremble. Being unconscious this time has raised my strength by a lot. Maybe my current fitness level has already reached the level of a fighter. I can pass the prospective fighter exam, even if it's just a little bit. It's not that big of a difference. If I train hard for 1 or 2 months, I should be able to pass the prospective fighter exam. Luo Feng's adaptability is very strong. Not being able to pass the benchmark for the college entrance exam was a huge blow to him. However, the coma increased his fitness level once again, which gave him confidence. After all, the status of a military academy graduate is far below that of a fighter. Ka! Luo Feng opened the door and entered the living room. In the living room, his parents, Luo Hongguo, Gong Xianlan, and his brother, Luo Hua, all turned their heads. Gong Xianlan even stood up and walked towards Luo Feng. Feng, you can't be blamed for this exam. You can only blame your headache. Sigh, why did it act up now? It hasn't acted up in years, bro, you won't be hurt, right? Luo Hua sat in his wheelchair and joked. Before, when Luo Feng was checking his grades in his room, his parents and brother found out his exam grades through Luo Hua's laptop. They found out that Luo Feng was only 4 points away from the benchmark. Even though they were a bit disappointed, they were more worried about Luo Feng. Luo Feng laughed. Of course I won't be hurt. Dad, Mom, don't blame this headache. Honestly, should we thank this headache? Thank? Luo Hongguo, Gong Xianlan, and the wheelchair-bound Luo Hua were all stunned. The college entrance exam is a major event in one's life. Now that Luo Feng's exam was ruined by his headaches, how could he thank his headaches? Dad, Mom, Hua. Luo Feng smiled. When I was young, I had 2 headaches that made me faint. In fact, after waking up both times, I felt like my strength had increased by quite a bit and I could run faster. This time, it was the same. I can feel that my physical fitness is much stronger than before. I think I can pass the prospective martial artist examination. What? Luo Hongguo, Gong Xianlan, and Luo Hua looked at each other. Brother, are you serious? Luo Hua couldn't help but ask. Of course it's true, Luo Feng slightly smiled. After passing the prospective fighter exam, you can apply for the fighter combat exam. I'm very confident in my actual combat ability. Maybe I can become a martial artist this year. His father Luo Hongguo, his mother Gong Xianlan, and his brother Luo Hua were all stunned by this news. A martial artist. What did that mean? They represented the group of people with the most extraordinary status in the human race, and represented special privileges. It represented a large amount of money. It represented a high and mighty position. And once you become a martial artist, the benefits you bring to your family are much better than becoming an elite student in a military academy. Our family is going to have a martial artist? Luo Hua couldn't help but to yell, "Haha brother, I worship you, Feng, that's great." Luo Hongguo also excitedly patted Luo Feng's shoulder. Becoming a martial artist is great. Compared to a martial artist, what's a military academy graduate? As of today, the entire human society worships and respects martial artists. Seeing his parents and brother so happy, Luo Feng laughed. Dad, Mom, but I haven't passed the exam yet, so I can't be too happy. An 18-year-old martial artist? Luo Hua couldn't help but to yell in excitement. If my brother really becomes an 18-year-old martial artist, then that's too awesome. The next day, at 5 a.m., the sky was just starting to brighten. Luo Feng left home and headed towards the dojo of Limit. There sure aren't many people at this time. After Luo Feng entered the dojo of Limits, he realized that there were only about 100 people in the entire dojo of Limit. Keep in mind that there are around 30,000 to 40,000 students in the dojo of Limit. Every time the dojo teacher teaches, they teach at night. Night is when the dojo is the most crowded. Walking on the road, Luo Feng directly headed towards the elite student building. Rumble, a low sound of air waves carried over. Huh! Luo Feng couldn't help but to turn his head and look. All he saw was a beautiful white sports car slowly driving into the dojo of Limit. Luo Feng couldn't help but to take a closer look and couldn't help but to take in a deep breath. An Aston Martin sports car? And it's the newest and most expensive one with the ability to fly, TR-191? His brother really likes sports cars. When he was at home, He also praised this Thr 191 to Luo Feng. So it's an Aston Martin, it's a 191, this one has the ability to fly. In the dojo of limits, the few students that were already there were all attracted over. This car costs 36 million Chinese dollars. At this time, the sports car stopped in front of the elite student building. The car door opened and a man with short red hair wearing a loose training uniform walked out. His hair was clearly dyed. His eyes casually scanned the surroundings, passing through the normal dojo students and pausing on Luo Feng for a bit. After that, he didn't say anything and directly entered the teaching building. A fighter. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. The fighter's eyes just now made Luo Feng feel pressured. This is the eyes of someone who has experienced countless life and death battles and has a will of steel. I've never seen this fighter in the dojo of limits before? What's he doing in the dojo of limits? Luo Feng also entered the training hall on the third floor of the dojo of limit. The spacious training hall was empty. There wasn't a single person in sight. Right now it was only 5 a.m. Even at night, when people are at their busiest, there wouldn't be more than 20 people here, let alone this early in the morning. I want to see just how strong I am now, Luo Feng thought to himself. He plugged in the fist strength tester machine and turned on the switch. He then turned on the speed tester machine in the distance. He stood in front of the fist strength tester machine. Let's begin. Luo Feng took in a deep breath. With his waist as the center, a powerful force was emitted from his waist. After that, his spine suddenly arched like a huge python, creating a powerful force that passed through his arm. After that, Luo Feng's fist was like a bolt of lightning as it smashed onto the machine with a ping sound. Beep, beep, beep. The fist strength tester machine let out 3 continuous sounds. Luo Feng's eyes flashed. Normally, the fist strength tester machine wouldn't make these kinds of sounds. When it does, it means one thing: a fist strength over 1,000 kilograms. Luo Feng stared at the display of the fist strength tester machine. 1,089 kilograms. So much. Luo Feng was ecstatic. A fighter's fitness level requires a fist strength of 900 kilograms. Before, his fist strength was 809 kilograms, but now it's actually reached 1,089 kilograms. Suddenly, it increased by 280 kilograms, far above the passing mark. Haha! Luo Feng excitedly punched with both fists like lightning. His entire body swayed left and right. With a pring-pring sound, Luo Feng punched over 20 times in the blink of an eye. And a series of numbers appeared on the screen of the fist strength tester machine: 956 kilograms, 989 kilograms, 923 kilograms, 965 kilograms. I'll go test my speed. Luo Feng turned his head and walked towards the track. As long as my speed passes, and with my reaction speed, I've already passed. Then I'll definitely pass the prospective fighter exam. Luo Feng adjusted his breathing. Whoosh! Like a cannonball, his entire body shot out and swiftly passed through the track. On the 4th floor of the advanced student building, a red-haired man was walking shoulder to shoulder with a black-clothed, bald, middle-aged man. Yen Luo, how long has it been since we last met? The bald, middle-aged man smiled. Almost 3 years. That little brat from back then is now a famous person. I heard that you earned close to 100 million Earth dollars this time, hee. When I see you, I feel like I'm old. Just good luck, laughed the red-haired man. Brother Jiang, back then you… Beep, beep, beep. The weak sound from downstairs made the two of them look at each other in surprise. The fist strength tester machine downstairs is the most basic fist strength tester machine. When you hit 1,000 kilograms, it will make this sound, said the bald middle-aged man in surprise. Someone came to train at 5 a.m. in the morning, and one punch can hit over 1,000 kilograms. Could it be that Yang Wu? Won't we know if we go take a look? Who? One dressed in black, one dressed in white. These two became two illusions as they walked down the stairs. In the blink of an eye, they went from the 4th floor to the training hall on the 3rd floor. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man and the white-clothed short-haired man stood side by side as they looked at the training hall. At this time, Luo Feng was standing in front of the track as he flew past. 28-1 ms. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man and the white-clothed red-haired man both saw the numbers displayed on the speed tester machine's screen. This Luo Feng's fist strength is over 1,000 kilograms, and his speed actually reached 28.1 meters per second. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man was a bit shocked. Brother Jiang, this kid isn't that old, right? He actually reached the fighter fitness level requirement, said the red-clothed middle-aged man in surprise. The black-clothed bald middle-aged man nodded. Yeah, his name is Luo Feng. He's one of the more talented students in our dojo. He just turned 18 this year. 18 years old? That young? The red-haired man's eyes couldn't help but to light up. At this time, Luo Feng, who discovered the two people at the door, couldn't help but be shocked. The red-haired man was the fighter who drove the sports car here, and the black-clothed bald middle-aged man was the head of the dojo of limits, Jiang Nian, the person with the most power. According to the rules of the dojo of limits, the students all call him instructor. Instructor, yelled Luo Feng as he saluted. Come here, Instructor Jiang Nian laughed as he yelled. I didn't think Luo Feng would reach the fighter fitness level requirement so quickly. Let me introduce you, this is your senior, Yen Luo. Yen Luo, I'll tell him your name, is that okay? No problem, Yen Luo looked at Luo Feng and nodded. This kid, he reached the fighter fitness level requirement at such a young age. Maybe in the future, he'll be able to interact with me. Jiang Nian looked at Luo Feng and laughed. Luo Feng, you're 18 years old, so it should be this year's college entrance exam. Who cares about this year's exam? What's the point of going to school? You can just focus on preparing for the fighter combat exam. Oh, right, on July 1st, go to Yangzhou City's Dojo of Limits and take the prospective fighter exam. With your current strength, it'll be easy to pass. College entrance exam? Laughed Yen Luo on the side. Don't waste your time in college. You're quite talented. No matter what you do, you need to put your heart and soul into it. Right now, you need to put all of your energy into the path of martial arts. Kid, when you become a fighter and join our dojo of limits, you'll have a bright future. These two fighters have extremely high statuses. They don't even spare a glance for the rich and powerful in society. As for Luo Feng, who is about to enter the ranks of fighters at such a young age, they are looking forward to it. Chapter 9. Yen Luo is right. Jiang Nian looked at Luo Feng and said seriously, Luo Feng, you're improving very quickly. In our Xian region's dojo of limits, you should be the one that improves the fastest. He entered my dojo of limits at the age of 16. Now he's 18 and his fitness level has reached the fighter realm. If you go to university and waste your energy there, wasting 4 years of your time, that would be a real waste of God's gift. You have to know that between the ages of 16 and 30 is the fastest period of improvement. The older you are, the harder it is to improve. Jiang Nian said seriously. 4 years in university was indeed the easiest time for a martial artist to improve rapidly. Wasting these 4 years to receive cultural education, in the eyes of martial artists, was indeed a great sin. Luo Feng was a bit stunned. God, it seemed that failing the college entrance examination was not a bad thing after all. Luo Feng, when you officially become a fighter, how about joining my dojo of limits? Jiang Nian smiled. As long as you become a fighter of my dojo of limits will arrange a villa in the best area for you. Of course, you're not allowed to sell this villa. Furthermore, there's a monthly base salary of 20,000 Chinese dollars. Detached villa? 20,000 base salary? Luo Feng took in a deep breath. 20,000 yuan was nothing, but a detached villa was too extravagant. Currently, there were only 6 major human bases in the whole of Huaxia, which were the 6 major cities. Land was extremely precious, and single-family villas had to pay a huge luxury tax. Nowadays, ordinary commercial houses cost tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of yuan per square meter, which led to the majority of ordinary people living in low-rent housing. Ordinary commercial houses were already so expensive. Superimposed villas, townhouses, and super-large mansions would cost hundreds of thousands of Chinese dollars per square meter. As for single-family villas, in this day and age, the country had restrictions on them. It was not something that could be lived in with money. Only those with money, power, and special status could live there. Moreover, there was also the huge luxury tax. The price of a typical detached villa was definitely more than 1,000,000 yuan per square meter. A detached villa, even if it's small, is at least 300 square meters. That's 200 to 300 million yuan. Luo Feng held his breath. Even though I'm not allowed to sell it, if my whole family lives in this villa, then I wouldn't have wasted my time in this world. 200 or 300 million, what kind of concept was that? Even Zhang Haobai's father, a rich man, probably wouldn't be able to match up to this villa. Luo Feng, the benefits of my dojo of limits compared to joining the country's special department. There's not much difference. Jiang Nian laughed. The martial artists in the government departments have basic salaries and living privileges. The only thing they have is a killing license, which allows them to kill ordinary people according to the situation. Of course, they don't dare to kill indiscriminately. They still have to explain to the higher-ups what happened. License to kill? Luo Feng has heard of this before. The fighters of the country's special forces indeed have the right to kill on the spot. However, our dojo of limits also has special privileges. If a normal person messes with you, you can report it to the dojo. After the dojo verifies it, they will use Jiangnan City's security bureau to take them away. Jiang Nian faintly smiled. Join our dojo. Money, status, everything. You can peacefully pursue the limits of humanity, the limits of martial arts. Jiang Nian pointed at Yen Luo. This little brother of mine, Yen Luo, recently killed a monster and earned nearly 100 million Earth dollars. That's about 300 million Chinese dollars. With your talent, it's not impossible for you to reach Yen Luo's level in the future if you work hard. Luo Feng was completely shocked. Heavens! He earned this much just from killing a monster? Just what level of monster did he kill? Luo Feng, work hard. Your talent is quite good, don't waste it. Jiang Nian smiled as he patted Luo Feng's shoulder. Kid, don't relax. I believe that you have the possibility of becoming a warlord-level fighter in the future. When that time comes, money, status, beauties, you'll have everything. Yen Luo slightly smiled. When that time comes, I'll be very happy to go out and hunt monsters with you. Ha ha. After saying that, Jiang Nian and Yen Luo laughed as they left. Luo Feng stood in the training hall, his mind in a mess. Whether it's instructor Jiang Nian, or this mysterious red-haired youth Yen Luo, Luo Feng felt a sense of recklessness in their laughter. A sense of recklessness. Recklessness? A smile slowly appeared on Luo Feng's face. Yeah, as a man, you should wander around and make a name for yourself. The strongest fighter in the world once said that a soldier who doesn't want to be a general isn't a good soldier. If you don't want to be the strongest fighter in the world, then you don't have the heart of a fighter. What's the point of living your entire life with your hands and feet tied up? I'm going to create an earth-shattering feat. 18 years old is the age where one's values gradually become fixed. After meeting instructor Jiang Nian and the mysterious fighter Yen Luo, Luo Feng's mindset completely changed. Wander around. The strongest fighter Hong and the second strongest fighter Thunder God created the Dojo of Limits and the Thunder Dojo respectively. Even the 5 great countries have to treat them as equals. If they can do it, then can't a third person do it? Luo Feng smiled as he walked out of the training hall. A man has dreams, and if he has a dream, then he'll go for it. Youth is capital. Youth means that your future is limitless. You have to work hard and fight for everything. June 28th, morning. The sky was clear. Luo Feng and Wei Wen were on their way to Xi'an Region's 3rd high school. Today is the day they receive their graduation certificates and application forms. Feng, are you sure you can pass the prospective fighter exam? Wei Wen couldn't help but to ask. Yeah, on July 1st, I'll go to Yangzhou City's Dojo of Limit's headquarters. Limit Hall to take the prospective fighter exam, smiled Luo Feng. The school was already in front of them. Luo Feng looked at the school in front of him, and looked at the students in the school. He felt that his attitude had changed a bit. HM? In the past, I treated myself as one of them. But now I feel like I'm from 2 different worlds. They go to college, work hard, get married, and have kids, and my path is different from theirs. Luo Feng and Wei Wen entered the school and went to their own classes. They walked in the hallway of the school building. Senior Luo Feng. Some of the other 3rd-year students even passionately greeted Luo Feng. I heard that Luo Feng fainted in the exam room during his high school exams. What a pity. Fainting in the exam room. Some people saw Luo Feng from afar and discussed in a low voice. Luo Feng's body fitness level has already reached the level of a fighter, so his hearing is extremely good. He could clearly hear the students' discussions from afar. 3rd year, 5. This is Luo Feng's class. Luo Feng is here. Brother Luo. Quite a few other students in the class have already arrived and passionately greeted him. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. Most of these old classmates have a good relationship with Luo Feng, but some of them don't like Luo Feng. On the surface they seem to be passionate, but some of them are still discussing in a low voice in the corner. Luo Feng's grades were so good in the past, and he's an elite member of the dojo. Who would have thought that he would suffer such a huge setback and faint in the exam room? How unlucky. This is fate. Who can we blame? In the past, Luo Feng was the pride of the class. He was good at studying and was strong. Now that this genius has suffered such a setback, these normal students naturally felt happy. Even though they have a good relationship with Luo Feng, that's just how people are. When they see an outstanding person in the past suddenly fall, they will also feel happy and think to themselves, even you have such a day. The diplomas are being issued, And volunteer applications, everyone come get them. 3 class leaders held their graduation certificates and volunteer applications as they walked up the podium. Wang Yin, Lu Xiaolong. The class leaders called out the names one by one and handed out the graduation certificates and volunteer applications. Luo Feng. With this, the classroom instantly quieted down. Almost everyone's gaze fell on Luo Feng. Everyone knew that Luo Feng fainted during his exams. And Luo Feng's exam results weren't a secret. Some students have already checked and found out that Luo Feng's results were only 4 points away from the qualifying line. Luo Feng, class leader Chu Lin handed over the graduation certificate and volunteer application to Luo Feng. Feng, let's go. Wei Wen was standing in front of the classroom. Wait for me. Luo Feng casually used some strength. Chi. He crushed the volunteer application into a ball and threw it. The crumpled application was thrown into the trash. The originally noisy classroom instantly quieted down. The entire class froze. This is the college entrance exam application. Who would dare to throw it away? A freckled girl yelled in shock. Luo Feng, why did you throw the application away? You're not going to fill in your application? Why would Luo Feng go to a specialist? He'll probably have to repeat his studies and take the exam next year. Discussions immediately arose. Wei Wen, who was standing in front of the classroom, couldn't help but to stare. Specialist? Repeat? Can you guys think of that? Luo Feng is about to take the prospective fighter exam, so why would he go to a specialist and repeat his studies? Stop talking, let's go. Luo Feng pulled Wei Wen and left with him. The students in the original class instantly became noisy. What? Prospective fighter exam? Luo Feng, he's going to take the prospective fighter exam? Seriously, he can't be that good, right? That way one is probably just bragging. Luo Feng became an elite student last year, so how could he take the prospective fighter exam this year? Subconsciously, these students didn't want to believe that Luo Feng reached the fitness level of a fighter. Fighter? That's a supernatural existence. Chapter 10. Mom, Dad, I'm going to the Dojo of Limits in the center of the city. I probably won't be back for lunch today. Luo Feng drank a large bowl of porridge and 3 pancakes before standing up. Wait for my good news today. Once I pass the exam, I'll immediately call you guys. His mother, Gong Xanlan, laughed as she glanced at Luo Hongguo. Hongguo, did you hear that? You have to bring your phone with you. Don't make it so your son can't find you. I'll definitely bring my phone, laughed Luo Hongguo. Okay, I'm going out. Luo Feng winked at his brother Luo Hua. Luo Hua gave him a thumbs up and laughed. Early in the morning, Luo Feng left the southern shore sector and went along the number 11 subway line to the Zhong and Road station. After that, he switched to Line 1 and arrived at the center of Yangzhou City. After leaving the subway station, he walked for another 10 minutes before arriving at the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City. Dojo of Limit. When he left home, it was only around 6 a.m. When Luo Feng arrived, it was already around 8 a.m. This is the legendary Mingyue sector? Luo Feng stood in front of the gate of a quiet sector. This sector is called Mingyue sector, and the Dojo of Limits is in this sector. Mister, this is the Mingyue sector, don't go near. At the entrance of the residential area, there were 6 soldiers dressed in military uniforms with real guns and live ammunition. Just by looking at their uniforms, these people aren't from the police system, but from the military system. One of the soldiers yelled towards Luo Feng, "Mister, please step back. Once you enter the yellow line, we have the right to kill you." Just like the rumors, Luo Feng sighed to himself. Mingyue sector is the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City. Not only is the Dojo of Limits here, but it's also the place where the families of the fighters under the Dojo of Limits live. Rumor has it that the people who live here are all warriors and their families. Even the police don't have the right to barge in. Luo Feng sighed to himself. Everyone, Luo Feng stood at the entrance of the sector and said, "I am an elite member of the Dojo of Limits, Luo Feng. I'm here to take the prospective fighter exam. The Dojo of Limits holds the prospective fighter exam on the 1st of every month." Oh! A white-haired old man walked out of the guard lounge next to the district. He was holding a palm-top computer in his hand. "Young man, you're quite early. It's not even 8 o'clock and you're already here. To be able to take the prospective martial artist examination at such a young age, his future was limitless. Let me check your ID and advanced student ID." Luo Feng handed over his ID and student ID. "Do!" He swiped his ID card and advanced student ID on the PDA, and a series of messages appeared on the PDA screen. 18. The white-haired old man looked at Luo Feng in shock and laughed. 18 years old and you dare to take the prospective fighter exam. Not bad, I hope you can pass today. Thank you, sir. Luo Feng said. Let him in. The white-haired elder waved his hand. At the same time, a soldier armed with an assault rifle took a step forward and followed beside Luo Feng. Sir, I will take you to the limit hall. Sir, please don't run around after entering the district. You only have the authority to enter the limit hall. You can't enter the fighter's family quarters. If you break the rules, even if I don't do anything, the patrolling brothers will, said the soldier as he smiled towards Luo Feng. Definitely. Luo Feng smiled as he nodded. The country and the Dojo of Limits indeed have a cooperative relationship. At least in the core area of the Dojo of Limits, it's heavily protected. Every single one of them is a villa. Luo Feng looked around. Other than the towering limit hall in the middle of the district, there were other villas. Elsewhere, there were detached villas arranged in picturesque disorder. In between the villas, there were rockery, ponds, and grasslands. Mingyue District, inside the Limit Hall. When Luo Feng stepped into the lobby of the Limit Hall, the soldier left. Sir, are you here to take the prospective fighter exam? In the lobby of the Limit Hall, a sweet-looking girl smiled. Sir, please sit over there. At 10 a.m., you'll take the prospective fighter exam with everyone else. Luo Feng nodded and walked towards the side of the lobby of the Limit Hall. There was a small bar here with a waiter and a bartender. Luo Feng glanced around. There were already 3 people sitting in this small bar. 2 of them were chatting while the other person was sitting silently on the other sofa. Look, those villas over there are the benefits of joining the dojo of limits, said a youth in a white shirt and white pants excitedly. As long as you become a fighter and join the dojo of limits, you'll be given a villa for free. And you'll be able to live here in the future. Hee, look at this environment, how comfortable. Of course, the fighter sector is different from the regular sectors. Look, new people are here. These 3 people also saw Luo Feng. Luo Feng slightly nodded towards them and sat on the sofa on the side. They didn't know each other, so they didn't talk. As time passed, 3 more people came. Luo Feng also didn't know these 3 people, but it seemed like these 3 people were quite old, probably over 30 years old. Some of them were even over 40 years old. Ha, Luo Feng! A loud voice rang. Luo Feng was shocked. He turned his head and saw a skinny man with a hideous scar on his face walk over. You also came to take the prospective fighter exam, Brother Yang? Luo Feng stood up to greet him. It's quite embarrassing to talk about it. I came here to take the exam last month. Sadly, when I tested my speed, I only reached 24.9 meters per second. I was so close I didn't pass. Yang Wu said helplessly. Actually, Yang Wu already passed the exam in terms of fist strength and reaction speed, but speed is his weakness. However, Yang Wu's speed has been improving since this year. 24.9 meters per second and 25 meters per second aren't that much of a difference. If he's in a good state, his result might be 25 meters per second. I believe Brother Yang will definitely pass this time, laughed Luo Feng. This guy named Yang has taken the exam a few times already and never passed. From what I see, he'll be in trouble this time, a loud voice came from the side. Luo Feng looked over. The one who spoke was a muscular man with a full beard. Yang Wu immediately glared. Tong, you're still talking about me? Didn't you also take the exam twice and fail? From what I see, with your reaction speed, you'll probably need another 2 to 3 years of training. Quiet down, a cold voice came from the middle of the lobby. Immediately, the 8 people present turned their heads and saw a middle-aged man wearing a loose dojo uniform glance over. Let's go, all of you follow me upstairs to take the prospective fighter exam. Remember, behave yourself when you go upstairs. Today, our Yangzhou City's chief instructor's old friend is here, so don't cause trouble. Yes, whether it was the arrogant full beard, Yang Wu, or Luo Feng, everyone respectfully replied. Chief instructor's old friend? Luo Feng couldn't help but to guess. Keep in mind that Yangzhou City has 1 dojo of limits and 12 dojos of limit. The heads of each district's dojo of limits are called instructors, and the head of the dojo of limits is called chief instructor. After entering the elevator, the middle-aged man wearing the loose dojo pressed 6. Beep. The elevator arrived at the 6th floor. Hua. When the elevator door opened, a gigantic training hall appeared in front of them. There were around a dozen people gathered in the hall, and one of them was the instructor Jiang Nian that Luo Feng knew. They're here, stop chatting, said a middle-aged man with long hair. A middle-aged man with long hair said. The dozen or so people in the training hall all turned their heads towards Luo Feng's group of 8. Luo Feng's group of 8 felt their hearts tighten as they faced the gazes of these people. They knew that the people that usually appear in the dojo of limits, besides the service staff, are fighters. In other words, these dozen or so people are all fighters. After all, this is the headquarters of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City. Prepare for the exam, commanded the middle-aged man with long hair. Luo Feng has seen this middle-aged man with long hair on the internet. This person is the head of the Dojo of Limits, Yangzhou City's chief instructor Wu Tong. Come here one by one and give me your identification cards. The fighter who led Luo Feng's group of 8 took their identification cards and gave them to chief instructor Wu Tong as he laughed. Head, there's quite a few people today. There's 8 of them. Okay, Wu Tong randomly took out an identification card and slid it across the machine on the side. Beep. A transparent screen popped out of the machine, and a large amount of personal information appeared on the screen. First, Tong Guan, said the chief instructor indifferently, begin the fist strength test. Even people from the military like you come to the Dojo of Limits to take the exam. Interesting. Luo Feng couldn't help but to let out a smile as he heard this. The Dojo of Limits was created by the world's strongest fighter. The exams of the Dojo of Limits have credibility and are highly valued. Once the exam results are taken out, they will be recognized by every country and region in the world. Even people from the military or those who train with family traditions like to take the exam at the Dojo of Limit. Test your fist strength, commanded the chief instructor. Yes, the full-bearded man immediately took a step forward. His eyes widened and his left hand blocked in front of his face. His right fist drew an arc in the air and smashed onto the gigantic fist strength test machine. The fist strength test machine only slightly shook. A number immediately appeared on the screen of the fist strength test machine. 986 kilograms. Pass. Next, Luo Feng, the chief instructor, casually slid the second identification card across the machine and looked at the detailed information. He couldn't help but to be surprised. 18 years old? Old Jiang, this is from your Xian region, right? When did such a talented kid appear? Haha, instructor Jiang Yan on the side couldn't help but to laugh proudly. It's hard to say whether or not he has the strength among the dozen fighters on the side. A fat old man laughed. Maybe he's here to see the world and doesn't have any strength. Instructor Jiang Yan glanced at him. What, jealous? Your northern post district doesn't have a genius like this, right? Luo Feng, show them the strength of our Xian region students. Yes, instructor. Luo Feng stepped forward and replied loudly, and then walked towards the fist strength test machine. Chapter 11. Old Jiang seems to be very confident. Chief Instructor Wu Tong smiled, but his gaze was still on Luo Feng. Almost everyone was looking at Luo Feng, waiting for his exam result. Luo Feng stood in front of the target. He abruptly exerted strength in his legs and slightly turned his body. His waist and hips released a powerful force that instantly passed through his arms. Luo Feng's fist was like an arrow shot from a bow. With a pring sound, his fist smashed into the target with a pung sound. After throwing a punch, Luo Feng's eyes had a bit of joy in them. Throwing a punch feels so good, all the energy is being released. As he looked at the display, 1101 kg, alright. Not bad. Immediately, many of the warriors present immediately praised. Chief Instructor Wu Tong rubbed his chin and nodded. Not bad, young man. Remember not to lose your center of gravity when you punch. If he disregards everything and only throws the heaviest punch, he will lose his center of gravity. Perhaps this punch was even more powerful. But if he did that, he would lose his center of gravity while fighting with a monster, and that was suicide. Not bad, not bad. Haha, this little punk Luo Feng, his battle ability is very strong. Instructor Jiang Yan laughed heartily. He once defeated 3 advanced students whose strength and speed were not inferior to his. What a clean and efficient fight. Hearing the chief instructor and the instructor's compliments, Luo Feng felt a wave of joy in his heart. When he was young, he had fainted twice, and his physical strength and speed had greatly increased. Since then, he had made up his mind to become a powerful martial artist. As for powerful martial artists, the requirement for actual combat ability was very high. When he was young, although he didn't join the dojo of limits, he searched the internet for some basic blade techniques and movement technique. He practiced alone at home and slowly accumulated experience. This was also the reason why he was strong in actual combat. He's a good seedling. Pass. Chief Instructor Wu Tong took out another ID card and slid it across the machine. Next by Yang. Luo Feng walked back to where the examinees were. Not bad, madman. Yang Wu laughed in a low voice. Luo Feng smiled. The 8 of them quickly finished the fist strength test. Only one of them was unlucky. His fist only had a force of 892 kilograms, which was just a little short of the passing mark, so he was eliminated. There were only 7 people left for the speed test in the next round. Click. Chief Instructor Wu Tong came to the speed tester and turned on the switch. One by one, in reverse order. First, Yang Wu. Chief Instructor Wu Tong instructed. Previously, Yang Wu was the last one to test his fist strength, but this time, he was the first one to test his speed. Yang Wu took a deep breath. He had come here for the prospective martial artist assessment almost 10 times, and every time, he failed in the speed test. Brother Yang, do your best. Luo Feng lightly patted Yang Wu's shoulder. Let's watch. Yang Wu adjusted his breathing and walked onto the track. Instructor Jiang Yan frowned at this scene. Yang Wu was also from the Xi'an district, but he had already failed the speed test many times. Boom! Yang Wu stomped on the ground, producing a deep sound. He swung his arms forcefully and stomped on the ground, causing Yang Wu's speed to quickly reach his limit. His expression was ferocious, and the veins on his forehead bulged as he clenched his teeth and madly ran. When he ran past the speed testing area, he even let out a suppressed roar. I have to pass! When Yang Wu stopped, he roared in his heart. He nervously turned his head and saw that Luo Feng was giving him a thumbs up. Seeing this, Yang Wu felt like he was in heaven. Haha, Yang Wu, your luck isn't bad. You actually passed. Instructor Jiang Yan also let out a hearty laugh. Yang Wu ran over and looked at the display. 25. 1 ms. Phew, that was close. Yang Wu laughed to himself. If his condition was slightly worse, his speed wouldn't have reached 25 meters per second and he would have failed again. Yeah, passed. Chief Instructor Wu Tong also let out a smile. Next, the members went through the test one by one. Last time, Luo Feng was the second one to test his fist strength. And this time, Luo Feng was the second person to test his speed. Soon enough, he reached Luo Feng. Luo Feng, yelled Chief Instructor Wu Tong. Crazy, do your best. We're going to take the fighter combat exam together, Yang Wu encouraged. Said Yang Wu encouragingly. Luo Feng smiled and nodded as he walked onto the track. He slightly adjusted his breathing and lightly jumped twice on the spot. Unlike Yang Wu's pure brute force style, Luo Feng's style made people feel relaxed. Whoosh! As soon as he exerted his strength, Luo Feng was like a leopard. His speed was incomparably fast, and he brought a gust of wind with him as he passed through the speed testing area. You could see with the naked eye that Luo Feng's speed was clearly higher than the others before him. Feels alright. Luo Feng turned his head and saw Yang Wu also giving him a thumbs up. Even Chief Instructor Wu Tong and Instructor Jiang Yan nodded their heads in admiration. Luo Feng walked over and looked at the display. 28. 6 ms. Your speed isn't bad, it's so much higher than the passing mark. Chief Instructor Wu Tong smiled as he nodded. Last one, Tongguan. After the fist strength and speed tests, one person was eliminated for the fist strength test and 2 people were eliminated for the speed test. Only 5 people were left. The third test was the reaction speed test. Follow me. Chief Instructor Wu Tong led a group of fighters and the remaining 5 people to the reaction speed test room that was connected to the training hall. This was a spacious room that was around 100 square meters. Of course, compared to the gigantic training hall that was thousands of square meters, this reaction speed test room was clearly much smaller. A large and expensive machine was placed on the ground. At the very front of the machine, there were holes that looked like a 6-barreled Gatling gun. However, there were way more holes than Gatling guns. There were at least a few dozen of them. First one, Tong Guan, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said. The full-bearded man immediately walked to the front of the machine gun and entered a circle with a diameter of 3.6 meters. Click, the switch was turned on. The edge of the 3.6-meter circle immediately emitted a blurry red light. In an instant, the examinees inside the circle seemed to be surrounded by a blurry red curtain. Remember, no matter what, you cannot leave the circle. Once you do, you fail. If your body touches the red light, points will be deducted. After Chief Instructor Wu Tong finished speaking, he walked to the reaction speed test machine and pressed a few buttons to adjust the intensity of the test. There were many different levels of intensity. The lowest level was the intermediate student test. As for the highest level, those were the tests and training conducted by the top experts among the martial artists. Begin. Chief Instructor pressed the red button. Do. The reaction speed test machine's huge cannon began to rotate. The dozens of muzzles in the cannon almost instantaneously emitted rays of red light. Some were fast, some were slow. Even the trajectories were not parallel. It was very messy. They quickly entered the range of the red circle. The full-bearded man's eyes were fixed in front of him. His body rapidly flashed left and right, passing through the gaps between the red bullet. Pooh! He was shot twice in a row. However, these bullets were rubber bullet. They were very weak and their speed was not fast. Hitting a person's body was not painful. Time passed by minute. The full-bearded man desperately dodged and dodged. Soon, 1 minute had passed. Woo! After Chief Instructor Wu Tong pressed the button, the machine gun quickly slowed down and stopped rotating. A large amount of data appeared on the central screen. Within 60 seconds, you have been hit 57 times and touched the red light 3 times. If you don't pass, you're eliminated. Chief Instructor Wu Tong said as he threw his identification card to the bearded man. Just a little bit more. The full-bearded man clenched his teeth, shook his head, and walked out of the red circle. Next, Luo Feng, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said. Luo Feng and Yang Wu punched each other once and then walked into the red circle. Luo Feng took a deep breath as he stood in the red circle. Before he entered the dojo, he often practiced his agility at home. Dodging has always been his forte. Before high school exams, I would usually be hit 50 to 55 times in 60 seconds. But now that my fitness level has increased and my reaction speed is even faster, passing the test is even easier. Remember, do not walk out of the circle. If you do, you will immediately fail. You will lose points if your body touches the red light. After Chief Instructor Wu Tong finished speaking, he pressed the red button. Do. The reaction speed test machine's cannon sped up and quickly rotated to an extremely fast speed. After that, the dozens of muzzles in the cannon instantly emitted rays of red light and rubber bullets shot towards him. Luo Feng's eyes were glued to the gun as he swiftly calculated his position in his head. His entire body was like an agile cat as he continuously dodged left and right, dodging the rubber bullets one after another. Of course, some of the bullets were too fast and couldn't be dodged, so they could only take a shot. As Luo Feng swiftly dodged, the fighters watching from the side began to discuss. This kid is not bad. His reaction speed seems to be even better. He's really fast. His technique is really good and his foundation is solid. Look, his feet are like the pads of a cat's paws. Every time he moves, he doesn't lose his center of gravity and can instantly change directions. This technique. If he's not a genius, he wouldn't be able to reach such a solid foundation without at least 10 years of hard work. The spectating fighters all gasped in shock. A fighter's fitness level can be improved through training. But movement techniques, saber techniques, and so on all relied on experience. Just because your body is strong doesn't mean your technique is good. WOO. After pressing the button, the reaction speed test machine's rotation slowed down and a large string of numbers appeared on the screen. Within 60 seconds, hit 28 times, did not touch the red light. Excellent. Chief Instructor Wu Tong let out a smile. Not bad, Luo Feng, congratulations. Once the official document is issued and your information is recorded in your citizens' information, you will be a prospective fighter. After passing the exam, an official document will be issued and recorded in your citizens' information. After passing the exam, an official document will be issued and recorded in your citizens' information within 7 days. Luo Feng clenched his right fist. I finally did it. I finally became a prospective fighter. Luo Feng, August 1st is the day of the fighter combat exam. When the time comes, gather at the limit hall in the morning. Under the instructor's lead, you will go hunt monsters outside of the human headquarters cities with other prospective fighters. After passing the exam, you will be a true fighter. Instructor Jiang Nian smiled as he said. Chapter 12. Okay, Luo Feng nodded excitedly. Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed as he stood beside the reaction speed tester machine. Okay, next, by Yang. Luo Feng walked to Yang Wu's side. Yang Wu's face was filled with joy as he said quietly, Crazy, congratulations. You're now a prospective fighter. As long as you pass the fighter combat exam, you'll be a fighter. Luo Feng also said quietly, Brother Yang, you definitely won't have a problem passing the reaction speed test. When the time comes, we'll take the combat exam together. Okay, Yang Wu was also looking forward to it. After that, Luo Feng and Yang Wu focused on the people taking the exam. Soon enough, 2 people took the exam. One passed and one failed. Last one, Yang Wu, yelled Chief Instructor Wu Tong. Yang Wu took in a deep breath. He's been waiting for this day for far too long, and he's always been stuck in the speed test. Now, he finally has the right to take the reaction speed test in the limit hall. Good luck, yelled Luo Feng encouragingly. Relax, Yang Wu strode directly into the red circle. As Chief Instructor Wu Tong pressed the start button, the muzzle of the nerve reaction testing machine immediately began to rotate. Very quickly, it reached an extremely fast rotation speed. Inside the muzzle, dozens of muzzles instantly shot out rubber bullets, covering the red circle. Yang Wu swiftly moved within 1 step of the front, back, left, right, and back. It was very simple. Luo Feng watched Brother Yang's dodging technique and was secretly shocked. Brother Yang's technique seems a bit stiff. He's not as agile as me, but Brother Yang's technique seems to be very efficient. Every time he dodges, he doesn't use the 3.6-meter diameter of the red circle. He only moves within 1 step of the front, back, left, right, and back. Yang Wu's movement range is small, but his dodging efficiency is very high. This technique is indeed very useful in battle. However, it requires precise control of the battle. Or else, the monster's claws can rip apart the fighter's body. Luo Feng thought to himself. At least to Luo Feng, this technique is very efficient, but it's also very dangerous. It's like dancing on a knife's edge. Roar! A minute quickly passed and the reaction speed tester machine's cannon stopped rotating. 60 seconds, hit 52 times, didn't touch the red light, passed. Pass. Chief Instructor Wu Tong said. Within the red circle, Yang Wu was so excited that he clenched his fists tightly. Blue veins popped out on his arms and tears appeared in his eyes. He had waited for this day for far too long. Finally, he realized his dream. He was only 1 step away from the legendary martial artist title. Yang Wu. Chief Instructor Wu Tong frowned and yelled, Your dodging technique belongs to the minute subtlety level dodging technique. While they were fighting against monsters, by moving their bodies slightly, the monsters' attacks would brush past them and not injure them. Because the range of movement of the body is small, naturally, in the same amount of time, he can make more dodges, which is extremely efficient. But this body movement technique is incredibly difficult. If you make the slightest mistake, the monster's claws will be 2 centimeters away from your body according to your calculations, and it won't be able to hurt you. But if there was a mistake, the monster's claws might cut through your body. I'll cut you open. When they fought against monsters, if they made a mistake, they might lose their lives. So, let me give you a piece of advice. In the future, when you fight against monsters, try to dodge as far away as possible. Give yourself some leeway, Chief Instructor Wu Tong said seriously. With your current strength, it's best if you train your basic body movement technique well. The results will be better. Yang Wu was shocked, but then he nodded seriously. Yes, Chief Instructor. Yang Wu, you have to remember Chief Instructor's words. On the path of martial arts, don't be greedy. The minute subtlety level technique is powerful. But if you don't have the strength to use it and force it, you'll just make a fool of yourself and become a laughingstock. Instructor Jiang Nian said seriously. Chief Instructor Wu Tong laughed. Okay, a total of 3 people passed the prospective fighter exam. They are Luo Feng, Bai Yang, and Yang Wu. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang's eyes were filled with suppressed joy. If it weren't for the group of senior fighters around them, they would have already started yelling in excitement. Everyone, you'll have to help out with the following matters, such as signing the combat exam contract. As he said that, Chief Instructor Wu Tong looked at the silver-haired black-robed man standing on the side and laughed. Captain, sorry for making you wait so long. Come, let's go out. Captain? Luo Feng and the other 2 were shocked. The chief instructor is the leader of the Dojo of Limits in Yangzhou City. His position is extremely high. If he calls him captain, then who is this silver-haired black-robed man? The silver-haired black-robed man glanced at Luo Feng and the other 2. For a moment, Luo Feng felt like this silver-haired black-robed man's eyes were like a boundless starry sky. Luo Feng was instantly sucked into them, but after that, Luo Feng woke up. What's going on? Luo Feng suddenly realized that Yang Wu and Bai Yang's expressions became sluggish. How scary, just one look and we're all sluggish, Luo Feng was shocked. This strength is too scary. For example, when 2 people fight, one look from the opponent can make you lose consciousness. When you wake up, your opponent's knife will probably pierce through your heart. The silver-haired black-robed man slightly smiled and looked at Luo Feng with surprise. Kid, not bad talent, work hard. The silver-haired black-robed man smiled at Luo Feng. Oh, your willpower isn't bad either, he. Chief Instructor Wu Tong nodded in satisfaction. After that, Chief Instructor Wu Tong and the silver-haired black-robed man left. What just happened? What happened to me? Only now did Yang Wu and Bai Yang wake up. The 2 of them looked at each other and remembered what just happened. They couldn't help but to break out in cold sweat. No matter if it's Yang Wu, Bai Yang, or Luo Feng, that silver-haired black-robed man is indeed the scariest person they've ever met. This silver-haired black-robed man has been watching us test the entire time. However, from the beginning until now, I didn't even notice his existence. Luo Feng was shocked. He didn't make a sound, as if he didn't exist. Too unbelievable. No. While Luo Feng was trying his best to remember what the silver-haired black-robed man looked like, he shockingly realized. He only remembered that pair of eyes that made people sink in, but he couldn't remember what that person looked like. You 3, come here, Instructor Jiang Nian and a group of fighters laughed as they looked at the 3 of them. Come to the training hall. From the reaction speed testing room, they entered the spacious training hall. These are 3 fighter combat exam application contracts. A fat old man took out 3 contracts from the corner of the training hall. Once you participate in the fighter combat exam, if you get killed by a monster during the process, it has nothing to do with our dojo of limits. Of course, the death rate of the fighter combat exam is very low. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang all took the contracts and flipped through the contents. The death rate is low, but the disability rate isn't, said a bald brute in a low voice. The fighter combat exam is a life and death battle with monsters. Of course, this is the most basic battle. When you actually go to the dangerous areas to hunt monsters, the dangers will be much more terrifying than this fighter combat exam. If you can't even pass this test, then you don't have the right to be a fighter. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang looked at each other. The contract was very simple. The main point was that the Dojo of Limits won't be responsible for any injuries or deaths during the combat exam. The three of them didn't hesitate and directly took the pens on the side to sign their names. Okay, Instructor Jiang Yan smiled on the side. All right, today is July 1st, so there's still 1 month until the combat exam. You have to prepare well in this 1 month. Oh right, as he said that, Instructor Jiang Yan walked to the keyboard on the side and swiftly pressed a few buttons. Soon enough, a huge transparent screen appeared on the wall of the training hall and an article appeared on the screen. It was called, Genetic Energy Training. Chem? Luo Feng couldn't help but to hold his breath. The reason why fighters' bodies are so powerful is that some of the top fighters can even surpass the speed of sound. One slash can cut through a steel plate a few meters thick. Of course, Luo Feng and the others are still far from the strength of the legendary fighters. Why are fighters so powerful? They rely on genetic energy. Back then, during the Grand Nirvana period, when humans are infected with the RR virus, they produce antibodies. This causes the body's genes to naturally change and optimize. Instructor Jiang Yan smiled. When the genes are optimized to a certain degree, they can absorb the energy of the universe and integrate it into every cell in the body. During this process, the bones, cells, blood, organs, skin, etc. will continuously evolve and improve. Your bones can become 10 to 100 times harder than diamond, and your organs can become so strong that you can hold your breath underwater for half an hour or even longer. All of this depends on you absorbing the energy of the universe and integrating it into every cell, making it your own energy, which is also genetic energy. Instructor Jiang Yan pointed at the article on the screen. This is the training method for genetic energy, 5 hearts towards the sky. It's also the only way to train genetic energy on Earth. Luo Feng immediately read the article in detail. Genetic energy, humanity's ability to optimize their genes and evolve. So that's how it is, Luo Feng understood after reading it carefully. Normal people can't train it because their genes aren't optimized enough. Normally, they can reach a fist strength of 900 kilograms, speed of 25 meters per second, and reaction speed of prospective fighters. When they reach this level, their genes are optimized enough to pass. 90% of potential martial artists would be able to start cultivating their genetic energy. You can start training genetic energy this month, Instructor Jiang Yan smiled. Instructor Jiang Yan smiled. As for the most precious Dao Yin technique, you can only obtain it when you become a fighter and join the Dojo of Limits or the army. There's only one way to train genetic energy in the world. But there are tens of millions of Dao Yin techniques in the world. Training different Dao Yin techniques can cause a huge difference in the speed of training genetic energy. Even a difference of tens of times. Dao Yin techniques are the most valuable of all. Chapter 13. Instructor, Bai Yang couldn't help but to ask. The Dao Yin technique is said to be amazing, but how amazing is it? How can it increase the speed of genetic energy training? At this time, a middle-aged man with a bit of white hair spoke. Bai Yang, let me tell you this. If you don't practice the Dao Yin technique and only use the Wu Xin Xiang Tian technique, your cells will be full after 5 minutes of training. You won't be able to absorb any more. But if you practice the Dao Yin technique, your cell capacity will increase by a lot. It can allow you to train for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, or even an hour. The middle-aged man looked towards Luo Feng and the other two. Do you understand now? Luo Feng finally understood after hearing this. The Dao Yin technique allows every cell to eat more each day, Luo Feng thought to himself. Cells absorb the energy of the universe and turn it into genetic energy, just like how a person eats food. If a person can only eat 3 bowls of rice, then practicing the Dao Yin technique allows them to eat 5 bowls of rice or 10 bowls of rice. Jiang Nian smiled. If you don't practice the Dao Yin technique, let's say that the energy your cells can absorb is 1 unit. Once you practice the Dao Yin technique, your cells can absorb 2 units, 3 units, or even more. In other words, your 1 year of training can surpass someone else's 10 years of training. This is the beauty of the Dao Yin technique. The fighters at the scene all began to discuss. Clearly, they all had a lot to say about the Dao Yin technique. In terms of the Dao Yin technique, the world's strongest fighter, the head of the dojo of limits, Hong, created 9 top-notch Dao Yin technique. If you guys join the dojo of limits and contribute enough, you'll have a chance to learn this top-notch Dao Yin technique. The fighters all smiled as they tried to entice Luo Feng and the other 2. All the major forces in the world hoped to have more and more martial artists. Instructor Luo Feng suddenly spoke. Instructor Jiang Nian smiled as he looked towards Luo Feng. What? Instructor, the silver-haired black-robed fighter who went out with the chief instructor, how could he make us lose our ability to resist with just 1 look? What kind of power does a fighter have? Luo Feng has never heard of a fighter being this powerful, so he was very curious. Instructor Jiang Nian smiled faintly, and the group of martial artists beside him laughed out loud. Kid, the one who left with the chief instructor is a spirit reader. Spirit reader masters are even rarer than us martial artists. The martial artists laughed and said, of course, spirit readers are usually martial artists. However, they are the most terrifying existences among martial artists. Spirit reader. Luo Feng was startled. Now that the internet is so advanced, Luo Feng has seen an introduction on the internet. It says that spirit readers are a very special existence in the fighter community, and an extremely terrifying existence. However, the internet did not explain in detail what was so scary about it. When you become a martial artist in the future, you'll soon find out about spirit readers. Instructor Jiang Nian laughed. Alright, today's prospective fighter exam ends here. The 3 of you can go home now. The prospective martial artist certificate had to be stamped and entered into the citizen's identity information. They'll probably arrive in a few days. I will inform you when the time comes. Alright, all of you can go back. Yes, instructor. Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang immediately turned around and left the training hall. In front of the limit hall, they were monitored by the armed soldiers of the sector as they left the sector. At the entrance of Mingyue sector, Luo Feng, Yang Wu, and Bai Yang were all smiling. My name is Bai Yang, I'm from Jiangnan's top military academy. My hometown is in Yangzhou City, and since it's summer vacation, I decided to take the exam here. Bai Yang extended his hand and shook hands with Luo Feng and Yang Wu. Nice to meet you too. Jiangnan's top military academy? He had always wanted to enter this military academy. Luo Feng laughed. My name is Luo Feng and this is Yang Wu. We're both from the Xian region's dojo of limit. Brother Luo Feng's future will be limitless. Even in our elite class, there aren't many who become fighters. Bai Yang loved making friends. Luo Feng, who stepped into the ranks of a prospective fighter at such a young age, was naturally more than happy to make friends. Who knows, maybe Luo Feng will become an extremely important figure in the future. Yang Wu laughed on the side. Let's not talk too much. It's fate that the 3 of us passed the exam on the same day and place. Today is a good day. Let's find a restaurant and have a good chat. Alright, Bai Yang laughed as he replied. Let's go, Luo Feng also laughed. The 3 of them just passed the prospective fighter exam, so they were all in high spirit. They chose a restaurant to eat lunch together and then went their separate ways. Luo Feng drank a bit today. He only remembered to call his family when he got on the subway. However, there were too many people on the subway. He was afraid that if he said, "Pass the prospective fighter exam," it would attract a crowd. "Whatever, I'll call after I get off the subway." After taking the subway line 1 to Zhong and Road Station, you'll have to walk quite a bit to get to line 11. Tell Dad, Mom, and brother. Luo Feng was still very excited. Prospective fighter. His family has been poor for so many years, and he's worked hard for so many years. Finally, he's accomplished something. Luo Feng took out his cell phone as he stood on the side of Zhong and Road. Beep. Beep. After dialing the number, Luo Feng waited. "Hello," his brother's voice carried from the phone. Luo Feng laughed as he said, "It's me, of course. Don't you know what kind of person your brother is? Of course I passed." "Haha, right. All right." Luo Feng held the phone and said happily, "Mom is home too? All right, let Mom answer the phone." "Hello, Mom, it's me, Feng." Luo Feng was extremely happy. Luo Feng's eyes couldn't help but to tear up as he listened to his mother's excited voice. After all, he worked so hard for this day for far too long. "Mom, you've asked me 3 times already. I really passed the exam. The prospective fighter certificate will be sent home in a few days." "I already ate with the other 2 who passed the exam," laughed Luo Feng. "Oh, you're calling Dad? Don't worry, Mom, I won't forget." "Okay, I know." After hanging up, Luo Feng couldn't help but to let out a smile. Happy, satisfied. He worked hard for so long and trained his technique and blade since he was young. Wasn't it all for this day? Exhale, inhale. Luo Feng took a deep breath and calmed himself down before calling his father's cell phone. In this family, his father, Luo Honghua, is the mountain of the family, the pillar of the family. Before Luo Feng became an elite member of the dojo, almost all of the family's expenses were supported by his father's hard work. Even though his mother works, she still has to take care of her 2 sons. Not to mention that one of them is disabled. His father's home renovation job is extremely tough. His back hurts, his hands get injured, and so on. "Dad, from now on, you don't have to work so hard anymore," thought Luo Feng to himself. Beep, beep. The phone rang and Luo Feng waited for his father to pick up. Chapter 14. Why didn't you pick up? It was past 12 o'clock, so it should be time for dinner. My dad usually takes a break at noon during the renovation, so he should be answering the phone. Luo Feng curiously clicked on the cell phone location search function on his cell phone screen. A map of Yangzhou City quickly appeared on the cell phone's screen. One of the little red dots was Luo Feng's current location. The green dot was where his father's phone was. Not too far from here. Luo Feng immediately knew where his father was and couldn't help but to let out a smile. "I ran to Dad's side and personally told him that I became a prospective fighter." Immediately, Luo Feng followed the map on his cell phone and swiftly rushed over. Jian District, Tiandu Garden District. "Hurry up, move your things faster so that you can rest and have lunch. We can go and eat too." In the private courtyard of one of the villas in the district, Zhang Haobai, who was wearing a white t-shirt and white pants, frowned as he urged. Beside him were 3 cold-looking bodyguards. "Sir, don't worry. This is a valuable item. We can't be careless. Brothers, put in more effort." There was a truck parked on the road outside the private courtyard, and the truck was filled with wooden furniture. Wooden furniture was very expensive in this day and age. It was a luxury that belonged to the minority. Since most people lived in the city, there were very few places to plant trees. Most of them were for beautification purposes. It was because there were indeed a lot of trees growing outside the human base cities, but there were also monsters outside the human base cities. In order to cut down and transport the trees, they had to fight the monsters. One could imagine how high the cost was. Nowadays, most people's furniture was made of plastic, and the taller ones were made of glass. Wooden products were not something that ordinary people could afford. "Be careful. The workers of the decoration company carefully moved the heavy furniture from the car to the ground. Then, the 3 employees carefully moved the furniture into the private courtyard. Be careful. Zhang Haobai frowned as he reminded them. This is solid wood furniture, it's all high-quality wood. If you break it, your boss will definitely give you trouble. Hoo. The 3 employees carefully moved the furniture. The furniture was made of good materials and was very heavy. It weighed more than 500 kilograms. It was a bit difficult for the 3 employees to move it. Brothers, let's stop and rest for a while. We'll move them into the house in one go later, the employee who was carrying the furniture said. Put the furniture here first, slowly and gently. The 3 employees carefully placed the furniture on the courtyard floor before straightening their backs and letting out a long sigh of relief. Old Luo, I'm hungry. A tall worker from a renovation company moved his body. After moving this set, there are still 2 other sets of furniture. After everything is moved, let's go eat together. Luo Hongguo laughed as he looked at the other 2 workers. He casually wiped the sweat off his forehead with his shirt. It was July, and it was almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was the hottest time of the day. It was indeed hard work for the 3 of them to move over 1,000 pounds of expensive furniture. You guys hurry up. Zhang Haobai impatiently urged. Okay. Luo Hongguo bent down and grabbed the furniture. Brothers, put in more effort and send this set of furniture in. Come on, 1, 2, 3, up. Luo Hongguo and the other 2 used their strength to lift the furniture. Then, they carefully walked up the stairs and quickly entered the house. After a while, they walked out. When Luo Hongguo and the other 2 walked past Zhang Haobai, the smell of sweat permeated the air. Zhang Haobai couldn't help but frown. Poor people will always be poor. Doing this kind of hard work, they'll be doing hard work for the rest of their lives. Zhang Haobai thought to himself. His dad was a millionaire, so he came from a wealthy family. Zhang Haobai looked down on those at the bottom of society who did hard work. From his point of view, these people who willingly do hard work didn't have the spirit to fight, so they deserved this kind of hard life. Careful, don't touch the front door. Luo Hongguo and the other 2 carefully carried the furniture forward. Their clothes were completely soaked in sweat. Beads of sweat seeped out of their foreheads and rolled down their neck. Let's rest outside. Luo Hongguo and the other 2 put down the furniture again and adjusted their breathing. Go 1, 2, 3, up. Even though Luo Hongguo and the other 2 were tired, they've been doing this for 20 to 30 years, so they're used to it. They know the limits of their endurance, so they rarely make mistakes. After a while, Luo Hongguo and the others went to move the last set of furniture. It's really hot. Zhang Haobai looked up at the sky. Brother Wang, later, we'll go to the restaurant next door and have a meal. Thank you, young master. The 3 bodyguards replied with a smile. Zhang Haobai glanced at the 3 workers who were moving the last set of furniture and couldn't help but let out a loam. Zhang Haobai naturally hated these kind of peasants. Suddenly, Zhang Haobai's gaze fell on the marble used to pave the path in the courtyard. One of the marble pieces had a crack. This crack was accidentally broken when he was sparring with the bodyguards a few days ago. Zhang Haobai's eyes lit up. I haven't had a lot of pocket money lately, so I can get some. At this time, Luo Hongguo and the other 2 were moving the 3rd set of furniture. Suddenly a cell phone rang. Luo Hongguo, who was moving the furniture, was happy. It should be phone. But Luo Hongguo was moving the furniture, so he couldn't pick up the phone, so he could only wait until he put down the furniture before calling back. Let's rest outside for a bit. Put it down gently, slowly. Luo Hongguo and the other 2 softly put down the furniture. Luo Hongguo took out his cell phone from his pocket and looked at the caller ID. It was his son. He couldn't help but smile and was about to call back. What's wrong with you guys? I told you guys to be careful. What are you guys doing? An angry voice suddenly rang out. Luo Hongguo and the other 2 workers froze and turned their heads to look. They saw Zhang Haobai's face was dark as he angrily pointed at the marble pavement under the furniture. What are you guys doing? Don't be serious. Look, my house's pavement was crushed by you guys. This is Nanshan marble. You can only get it from outside the headquarters city. One piece of marble costs hundreds of thousands. Can you guys even afford it? Ah. Luo Honghua and the other two looked down. Indeed, on the pavement under the furniture, one of the marble pieces had a small crack. I'll ask your boss what's going on. Zhang Haobai said angrily. Brother Wang, you have their company's phone number, right? Call their company. Tell their boss to come here. There's no point in talking to these people. I have their company's phone number here. The bodyguard named Wang immediately took out his cell phone and started dialing. Luo Honghua and the other two knew each other. That's not right. The tall worker from the company immediately said. The crack on the marble was there before. I've seen it before. Still quibbling? What's the use of quibbling? Zhang Haobai sneered. Luo Honghua frowned. As an experienced worker, he knew that this kind of quibbling was the most troublesome. And companies usually care a lot about their reputation. If they really get blackmailed, and the company doesn't have evidence to prove that the crack wasn't caused by their workers, then the company can only lose money. If the company loses money, then the 3 workers responsible for moving the furniture will definitely have their pay cut. Brothers, let's move the furniture in first. Luo Honghua said and was about to move the furniture. Move it in? Zhang Haobai took 2 steps forward and pushed Luo Honghua away. He looked at the 3 workers and yelled, Don't play tricks. The furniture is on the marble, that's the evidence. You want to move the furniture in and then deny it? I've seen too many of your little tricks. Wait until your boss comes. Old Luo. The other 2 workers went to help Luo Honghua, who had been pushed to the ground, up. I'm fine. Luo Honghua rubbed his shoulder. Why are you pushing people? We don't even know if we broke the marble, why are you pushing people? The other 2 workers immediately glared and yelled. These hard workers aren't afraid of anything. If they get angry, they'll just fight. Even if they get arrested and sent to the police station, they don't care about money or their lives. The police station usually can't do anything and will let them go. Don't play with me. Zhang Haobai kicked the 2 workers' stomachs like lightning. Pooh. Pooh. The 2 workers were sent flying and fell to the ground. Look at where you're at if you want to play with me. Zhang Haobai laughed coldly. His Zhang family has a lot of connections in Jian region. Beating up a few normal workers is nothing. Old Tian Daho. Are you okay? Luo Honghua was also worried. You young man, how can you be like this? Luo Honghua yelled. Zhang Haobai smelled the sweat on Luo Honggua's body and couldn't help but frown. He waved his hand. Brother Wang, you guys teach them a lesson and make them quiet down. Young master, from the decorating company. The bodyguard named Wang handed over his phone. Okay. Zhang Haobai waved his hand and the 3 bodyguards immediately went to teach the 3 workers a lesson. Zhang Haobai held the phone. Yes, I'm from Sky Capital Garden. Get your boss Ho on the phone. Boss Ho, what happened to the people you delivered today? Their hands and feet were so rough that they cracked the marble pavement in my courtyard. Hurry up and send someone over. Do as you see fit. If this isn't settled, don't even think about getting the rest of the payment for the furniture. Before he could finish, stop. A roar came from outside the courtyard. At this time, Luo Honghua and the other 2 workers were forced to stand in the corner of the courtyard by the 3 bulky bodyguard. Their bodies were covered in footprints. The 3 bodyguards and Zhang Haobai all turned their heads to look. A blurry silhouette instantly rushed into the courtyard. Zhang Haobai immediately recognized it and yelled, Luo Feng, you dare to come to my house. Beat him up. Son of a bitch. Luo Feng immediately saw his father, who was drenched in sweat and covered in footprints, standing in the corner while holding his stomach. Luo Feng's eyes immediately turned red. His father has been doing this kind of hard work for so many years and has to be looked down upon by others. And today, he even had to suffer such a thing. One of the 3 bodyguards, a slightly chubby man, sneered as he took a step forward. "Get out of my way!" Luo Feng roared, as fast as lightning, his heavy leg kicked out fiercely. The chubby bodyguard even used his right arm to block. Pung! The heavy kick caused the chubby bodyguard's eyes to widen. He flew 4 to 5 meters in the air before falling down. The other 2 bodyguards on the side jumped in fright. "Luo Feng, you dare to come to my house and hit my people?" Zhang Haobai glared and roared, "You're looking to die, you're looking to die." Luo Feng's eyes carried a fierce glint as he roared while clenching his teeth. Chapter 15. Attack, attack together! The mad Zhang Haobai's face was flushed red as he waved his hand and roared. This Luo Feng dared to cause trouble in his house and hit his bodyguard. "Careful, this guy's legs are heavy," the short fat bodyguard rubbed his stomach as he fell to the ground. Blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth, and he couldn't get up. "Kid, you sure are ruthless." The bodyguard named Wang and the other bodyguard quickly surrounded Luo Feng. After witnessing the power of Luo Feng's kick, these 2 bodyguards didn't dare to be careless. Luo Feng had already rushed to his father's side, but before he could say anything, Luo Hongwa said, "I'm fine, Feng, watch your back." In almost an instant, the 2 bodyguards attacked Luo Feng from the left and right. And that Zhang Haobai also slowly closed in. The 3 of them teamed up. Humph! Luo Feng glanced at them from the corner of his eye and instantly turned around. He used the force from his waist and swiftly swung his right arm. At the same time, his palm formed a blade. His entire right arm was like a blade that sliced horizontally. Before the blade arrived, the wind was already blowing. Not good. The bodyguard named Wang's face changed and immediately used both his arms to block Luo Feng's slash. Pung! A low impact sound. Luo Feng's blade heavily chopped onto the bodyguard named Wang's arms. The bodyguard named Wang felt as if his arms weren't his own anymore. The pain caused him to lose all feeling and his right arm lost all strength. He couldn't help but to retreat as he yelled, "My right arm is fractured." "What?" Zhang Haobai, who was about to attack, was shocked. These 3 bodyguards of his family are all elite members of the dojo. Logically speaking, Luo Feng is an elite member of the dojo, so their strength shouldn't be too different. There's no way he could break the right arm of the bodyguard named Wang, who is also an elite member of the dojo. Not good. The bodyguard named Wang was injured. Only the tall and sturdy black-clothed bodyguard was left. The black-clothed bodyguard's 2 comrades were defeated one after another, so he was both shocked and angry. The black-clothed bodyguard clenched his teeth and roared as he threw a lightning-fast kick and punch. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, Luo Feng was very nimble. With 2 swaying movements, he dodged 2 attacks. After that, he mercilessly slashed with his fiercest blade. He raised his right hand high and slashed down like Guan Gong's blade. "It's too fast." The bodyguard in black couldn't dodge in time and could only block with his hands above his head. He gritted his teeth and took the attack head-on. When Luo Feng crazily chopped down with his hand, the black-clothed bodyguard's heart was already filled with fear. Dong! The black-clothed bodyguard felt his arms instantly lose all feeling, and his arms actually went limp from Luo Feng's knife-hand strike. However, Luo Feng's knife-hand strike didn't lose any of its power at all. It pressed down on the black-clothed bodyguard's arms and smashed into his shoulder. The force of over 1,000 kilograms instantly caused the bodyguard to kneel on the ground. How is that possible? Zhang Haobai, who was about to ambush him, was so scared that he stopped. Of the 3 bodyguards, one was clutching his stomach and unable to get up, one had a fractured right arm, and the last one was forced to kneel on the ground by a chop. Zhang Haobai! Luo Feng's eyes were about to spit fire, like he wanted to eat someone. "What are you doing? Luo Feng, what are you doing?" Zhang Haobai fiercely took 2 steps back and roared, "This is my home. You trespassed into my home and injured my people. How dare you be so arrogant? You dared to hit my dad and kick my dad." Luo Feng clenched his fists. The muscles on his body were like steel bars, and the veins on his body bulged like earthworms, making him look extremely ferocious. "Your dad, I don't even know who your dad is, so how could I hit your dad and kick you?" Zhang Haobai suddenly glared and looked towards the 3 dirty workers with footprints all over their bodies. He immediately understood why Luo Feng charged in and started beating people up without asking any questions. Zhang Haobai looked at the man-eating Luo Feng and immediately roared, "Luo Feng, I'm warning you, you, purring!" Luo Feng's powerful kick, which was as fast as lightning, directly landed on Zhang Haobai's stomach. Zhang Haobai was kicked to the ground and his face turned red. "Warning my ass!" Luo Feng grabbed Zhang Haobai's clothes by his neck and lifted him up, causing Zhang Haobai's entire body to hover in the air. You. Zhang Haobai wanted to speak, but his entire body was hovering in the air as he grabbed the clothes by his neck. This put a lot of pressure on his neck, making it hard for him to even breathe, let alone speak. "Hurry and put the owner down!" An angry roar carried over from far away. Around 10 fully armed security guards rushed over with batons in their hand. There were many cameras in the Tiandu sector, so the security guards immediately found out about the fight. Anyone who can live in a villa in the sector isn't a normal family, so they didn't dare to be careless. They immediately rushed over and called the police. Luo Feng glanced at the security guards rushing over and laughed coldly at Zhang Haobai. He casually threw Zhang Haobai onto the lawn in the courtyard. The white clothes on his body were already dyed green by the grass juice. "Dad, are you okay?" Luo Feng walked to his father. Luo Hongguo sighed. "I'm fine, it's just some flesh wounds." Luo Hongguo looked at the 3 pained bodyguards as well as Zhang Haobai, who had an ugly expression on his face. He worriedly said in a low voice, "Xiao Feng, you don't know how to control your strength. You've beaten them to this state. You'll have to pay quite a bit of medical fees. They might even sue you." "Yes, little Feng. You were too heavy-handed," another worker said worriedly. "Not heavy-handed, it was good. They didn't even treat us as humans before," another slightly taller worker said angrily. The group of security guards in the sector was quite clear about the rich families in the sector. The 3 bodyguards of the Zhang family were all elite-level bodyguards, and they were all elite dojo students. But now that these 3 were all heavily injured, the security guards didn't dare to mess with Luo Feng. Since being a security guard meant getting a salary, no one wanted to be like the 3 bodyguards and get their bones broken. Du. Suddenly, the sound of a police car rang. Everyone couldn't help but to turn their heads. They saw a police car quickly stop in front of the Zhang family's door. The 4 doors of the police car opened, and 4 policemen quickly ran out. "The police are here," the security guards immediately moved aside. "Not good, the police are here." Luo Hongguo's father and the other 2 were shocked. Luo Hongguo pulled Luo Feng to a corner and hurriedly said in a low voice, "Feng, you injured someone. It'll be troublesome when you get to the police station. Don't worry, I'll go find a lawyer for you right now." "Dad, I passed the prospective fighter exam," Luo Feng said softly. Just this sentence made Luo Hongguo, who was extremely anxious, relax. He couldn't help but to let out a sigh of relief. "Really? That's great. Feng, you passed the exam. Then doesn't that mean the police don't have the right to arrest you? Prospective fighters only need to pass the combat exam to become fighters. Once their fitness level reaches a certain level, they can also train genetic energy. So, the country stipulates, all sorts of cases involving prospective fighters and fighters are handled by the headquarters City Security Bureau. Jiangnan City is naturally handled by the Jiangnan Security Bureau, and normal police departments don't have the right to arrest people. However, Dad, after I pass the exam, I need to go through the approval from the higher-up. After a few days, The prospective fighter certificate will be sent to my house. Only then will my citizen information be recorded, Luo Feng said quietly. So from a legal perspective, I'm not a prospective fighter yet. I need to wait a few more days. As long as his citizen information is recorded, Luo Feng will officially be a prospective fighter. In these few days, even if there's trouble, I can just contact the Dojo of Limits and ask them to provide a guarantee that I passed the prospective fighter exam. Then I can directly leave the police station, said Luo Feng. However, if there's no trouble, then there's no need to go through so much trouble. I'll only be staying at the police station for a few days. When the time comes, even if I want to stay, they won't dare to make me stay, Luo Hongwa nodded. Luo Feng. 2 police officers walked over, and one of them shouted, "You dared to trespass on a private property and heavily injure someone. Let's go, follow us to the station, police comrade. I'll cooperate with you." Luo Feng smiled as he took a step forward. "Let's go, you only have one car. It doesn't seem like it can fit all of you." This caused the 2 police officers to freeze. "Don't worry, I have a car." Zhang Haobai turned his head towards the leader of the 4 police officers. "Uncle Lu, my 3 bodyguards and I were all injured by him. We're all witnesses. Bring them along." The police officer called Uncle Lu waved his hand and said, "Luo Feng." Zhang Haobai glared at Luo Feng. His heart was filled with resentment. Not only did Luo Feng beat him up for 3 years in high school, but today Luo Feng beat him up again, which made him remember the time when he was beaten up in the dojo. This time, Luo Feng, even if you don't die, you'll still lose some skin. To injure my bodyguards this badly, that's enough to constitute a criminal case. I'll sentence you to jail for a few years and see if you can still be cocky." Luo Feng smiled as he got into the police car. Chapter 16. The cold and dark room was empty. Cold air constantly poured in, causing people to shiver uncontrollably. "This is the interrogation room?" Luo Feng, on the other hand, had a curious look on his face as he carefully looked around the interrogation room. "Throwing me in this dark room alone with the air conditioning turned on, is this a psychological tactic?" Actually, before this so-called interrogation even started, Luo Feng had already won. After passing the prospective fighter exam, Luo Feng had no fear of the police's method. In the surveillance room outside the interrogation room, a few policemen looked at the scene recorded by the camera. One of the young policewomen asked curiously, "Head, how come this young man doesn't feel anything at all? If a normal person enters this interrogation room and stays here for half an hour, along with their own thoughts, they'll be scared to the point where they don't know what to do." Don't underestimate him. According to his citizen information, he's an elite member of the dojo. Moreover, he has injured 4 senior students of the dojo, the bald middle-aged policeman said with a smile. "One injured 4? How powerful! Don't tell me he's already a prospective fighter. If he really is a prospective fighter, then we'll be in big trouble," said one of the young policemen. "He's not a prospective fighter, it's clear from his citizen information," said the bald middle-aged policeman. "Let's go, Xiaoyang, follow me in to interrogate him." "Yes, head." In the interrogation room, Luo Feng has already stayed here for over half an hour. "You guys came." Luo Feng smiled as he looked at the 2 policemen who came in. The bald middle-aged policeman froze. This young man's calmness was out of his expectations. After that, he and the other young policeman sat in front of the interrogation table. The bald middle-aged policeman smiled. "Sorry, we were interrogating a few other people before, so we took a bit of time. That's why we only came now." "No problem," asked Luo Feng. "What about the 3 workers from the decorating company, where are they now?" "We already let them go home," said the bald middle-aged policeman in a friendly manner. Luo Feng nodded. In this incident, his father, Luo Hongwa, and the other 2 were the victims, so naturally they were let off easily. The 3 workers from the decorating company, as well as Zhang Haobai and his family's 3 bodyguards, have all told us what happened. The truth isn't in your favor. Do you have anything to say? The bald middle-aged policeman stared at Luo Feng. Normally, when people hear the truth, they'll defend themselves. Luo Feng smiled. Nothing much, Zhang Haobai and his 3 bodyguards, these 4 are trash. How dare they hit my dad? I'm just teaching them a lesson this time. The bald middle-aged policeman and the young policeman were both stunned. Pung! The young policeman slammed the table, stood up and yelled, Luo Feng, behave yourself. This is the police station, don't be so arrogant. Arrogant? I'm telling you the truth. Luo Feng smiled. All right, that's all I have to say. The bald middle-aged police frowned. Luo Feng, you're so arrogant. This testimony will be very disadvantageous to you in court, based on your viciousness and the fact that you did it on purpose. At that time, it wouldn't be a problem for you to be sentenced to a few years in prison. It's better if you explain things clearly. I have nothing to say. Luo Feng shook his head. The bald middle-aged policeman frowned and carefully looked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng remained silent. Finally, the bald middle-aged policeman waved his hand. All right, don't regret it when the time comes. Take him away. Luo Feng smiled as he stood up. 2 policemen swiftly walked in from the interrogation room and escorted Luo Feng out. Xi'an Region Jail. This jail is right next to the police station. Nowadays, fighters are too prevalent in society, which leads to a lot of fights. Therefore, many people are locked up in jail. Every sector has a jail to lock up these people. Today, Luo Feng was locked up. After changing into a gray uniform, Luo Feng was locked up. 299, this is the one, go in. The guard pushed Luo Feng in and then locked the door. Most of the people locked up in this jail are people who fight, steal, drive under the influence of alcohol, etc., and some of the suspects who are waiting to be sentenced in court. Luo Feng's incidents of beating up people can be big or small. To put it lightly, he just beat up a few people. But if he really goes to court, Luo Feng can indeed go to jail for a few years. Of course, the prerequisite is, Luo Feng isn't a prospective fighter. In the jail, he knew. There was a bald brute with tattoos on his body lying on the lower bunk bed. Beside him was a middle-aged man who was obediently massaging his shoulders. The bald brute glanced at Luo Feng. Little punk, your skin is so soft and tender. Not bad, come here and give me a leg massage. Luo Feng looked at this bald brute with curiosity. Rumor has it that the weak are bullied in jail. However, Luo Feng has only heard of it. This is his first time seeing it. Motherf ***, are you deaf? The bald man glared at him and stood up in a huff. Interesting, Luo Feng was curious. Are you looking for a beating? Seeing that Luo Feng didn't give him any face, the bald brute fiercely waved his fan-like hand towards Luo Feng's head. Luo Feng's body slightly moved and his right hand fiercely extended like a poisonous snake's tongue. He grabbed the bald brute's wrist. Chem? The bald brute fiercely tried to pull, but he felt like his arm was trapped by an iron hoop. He couldn't exert any force at all. His face couldn't help but to change. He knew that he kicked a metal plate. You want me to give you a leg massage? Luo Feng used force on his right hand and twisted the bald brute's arm at the same time. The bald brute was in so much pain that he bent down and begged for mercy. Brother, I didn't recognize Mount Tai. Brother, please let me go. The intense pain made him unable to help but to scream. Luo Feng used force with his right hand and flung the bald brute away. The bald brute stumbled and crashed into the wall. If you still want me to give you a leg massage, you can tell me any time, Luo Feng said with a bit of mischief. After that, his entire body leaped up and with a slight push from his right hand, he landed on the top bunk of the bed. The bald brute sat paralyzed in the corner and rubbed his right wrist. The middle-aged man in the jail cell and the skinny young man on the other bed looked at the bald brute and then looked at Luo Feng on the top bunk. Baldy Huang, what's wrong? A policeman in the jail cell stood at the entrance and laughed. Who pissed you off? How did you end up like this? Oh, let me remind you. This new young man in your jail cell beat up 4 elite members of the dojo by himself. Be careful, don't mess with him." After saying that, the policeman hummed a tune and left. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" The bald brute raised his head in fear and looked at the top bunk. "One guy beat up 4 elite members of the dojo, he's that crazy." Luo Feng, who was sleeping on the bed, was recalling the genetic energy training method that he read in the dojo of limits. "Yeah, since there's nothing to do in the jail cell, I'll wait until it's pitch black and try to train this genetic energy. The reason why fighters have unbeatable power is because of their genetic energy." While Luo Feng was planning his genetic energy training in the jail cell, in a KTV not too far away from the police station in Jian region, in one of the private rooms, 2 young men each had a girl in their arms and were wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. One of the young men was Zhang Haobai. "All right, you 2 can leave," said Zhang Haobai as he waved his hand. Only Zhang Haobai and the other bespectacled youth were left in the private room. "Brother Zhou, I invited you here today to ask for your help," said Zhang Haobai. "Just say it," said the bespectacled youth. "As long as I can help, I won't say a word. It's like this, there's someone called Luo Feng. This piece of trash always goes against me." As he said that, Zhang Haobai angrily spat out, "This time, he beat up 3 of my bodyguards and also beat me up. Brother, I really can't do anything about this. Right now, this guy is locked up in the jail. I want to ask Brother Zhou to help me teach Luo Feng a lesson through the people in the jail." "Oh, that's no problem. However, asking the people in the jail to help will cost some money," said the bespectacled youth as he frowned. "Money isn't a problem. I have $100,000 here. After it's done, I'll give you another $100,000. Zhang Haobai directly threw a leather bag over. "Haha, great." The bespectacled youth didn't even look at his wallet and nodded. $200,000. As long as it's not murder, I can do it. Tell me, how do you want to teach that Luo Feng a lesson? Break one of his legs and one of his arms," said Zhang Haobai as he clenched his teeth. "All right, that's easy." The bespectacled youth immediately nodded in agreement. Zhang Haobai reminded, "Brother Zhou, this Luo Feng isn't easy to mess with. He even beat up 3 of my bodyguards." "Don't worry," the bespectacled youth smiled confidently. "Don't worry. Just wait for the good news."